The world is controlled by three types of people: those who are talented, those who have the superpower of money, and a very special third type. But before the story reveals what type that is, we jump to a streaming session where a mage is casting his spells, receiving support from his team as they struggle. The magic stone on his staff is glowing more and more intensely. That is the Abyss Guild, and the viewers say they are very powerful, but that dragon wouldn't be easy to defeat. The attack combination of those players was truly impressive. A little further away from them is a figure well known to those watching. It's Lee Seol. She delicately opens her arms. Activating the Divine Roulette, she did this while singing a song. Immediately, the effects of her powers became evident, and a large pair of wings appeared on her back. A random skill would be summoned, and some of the viewers were hoping it would be something funny, so they could be entertained a bit more. But the players involved in that fight were hoping it would be something very useful, because the dragon had not yet been defeated and it was already running out of patience to tolerate those players much longer. And returning to the statement at the beginning of the story, we have the third type of person capable of ruling the world. Those who are extremely lucky. The girl summoned the Herald of the Goddess of Victory. Wielding a huge spear, she turned the dragon into a simple lizard. Her audience said she was really very lucky, but there was still one dragon head breathing calmly, and it didn't take long for her to start being attacked by the remaining players. The viewers noticed that the guild leader, whose name is Merlin, began casting something to support his allies. A blonde-haired man was already prepared to execute a big move, and a huge magic circle appeared in front of him. Because of his appearance, he is very popular among those who watch this kind of content. From that magic circle, he managed to summon a flaming dragon, and moving his staff, he gave a single order to the creature to attack and obliterate the enemy in front of it, firing at it with a singular and powerful strike. That was enough to destroy the last remaining head of the dragon. Where there was once a breathing head, now there was only its former location. The creature had been successfully subdued. The netizens watching realized that this team was the fastest to defeat this challenge, and all the players are celebrating the victory they achieved over the Labyrinth Dragon. Several of the viewers want to join this guild as well, some motivated by the achievements of this team, others because Lee Seol is beautiful. Knowing that the stream was already ending, they agree it was very fun to watch. But that was just a recording being watched by someone, and the boy who finished watching this recording is using a very modern virtual immersion device. Sitting in a highly technological chair, he had a fully immersive experience. Later, we discover that the daily fee is 300 coins. We don't know if he's talking about dollars or the devalued Korean currency. He doesn't agree with this price, since the survival rate of that challenge is 30%. The person on the other end of the call said he only does it if he wants to. There are plenty of others interested, and the boy said he just wanted to be better paid. But the person is not able to pay more, since the guild is not willing to increase the budget for this type of hiring. Ending the call, the boy is completely upset. A friend of Haeyeon cautiously opened the door, asking if things were going well, and the boy realized he had spoken too loudly. Outside, he said he was going to have to work the entire month as cannon fodder, and his friend would really like to participate in a raid like that. Despite the large number of players, only a small percentage of them managed to make this a profession. He said that to encourage his friend because he has the talent to make money from it. But that's not how our protagonist is feeling. In fact, he is skilled at the game, since he doesn't use a virtual aid that helps players aim. Because he played a lot of baseball in his childhood, he has a slight advantage compared to other players. Unfortunately, he was forced to abandon his sports career due to a shoulder injury, and he was already starting to gain maturity. Reflecting on this, he concluded that his friend doesn't know how talent can make someone feel pathetic. Leaving a card on the table, he thanked his friend, hoping he could level up a bit, but he doesn't know if he will be capable, since the competition is very fierce. Our protagonist has been perfecting his virtual character for 5 years. He had invested a lot of money in the mage he created, something he doesn't intend to do ever again in his life. And for him, there was only one option left. He needs to protect his family at any cost. Talking to his friend, he found out that he was very entertained reading a novel about a protagonist who is betrayed and returns wanting revenge. He thought the story was weird, said goodbye to his friend, and went outside to go back home. But it was raining heavily, and without an umbrella, he would get completely soaked. Since there was no other option, he headed home anyway. Remembering the novel, he thought it was a huge waste of time to go back to the past just to get revenge. If that happened to him, he would buy bitcoins or anything else he knew would increase in value. What he didn't realize was that a car was approaching. The boy looks to the side with his peripheral vision. But unfortunately, the truck from the iSky Transportation Company was already too close to him. That's when the boy realized that something very bad could happen. A huge impact occurred shortly after. The small truck had overturned, and the hesitant feet of the protagonist were planted on the ground. Having witnessed all that left him in shock, but it wasn't this time that the iSky happened. Some bystanders gathered at the scene to better understand what had happened. Still very terrified, our protagonist's blood pressure was dangerously low. Some people were thinking about the driver's safety and asked someone to call emergency services. While the boy reflected on his bad luck, a live wire came loose from a utility pole. As soon as he stood up, part of the pole fell exactly where he was, and the electrified cable started bouncing through the air. Considering that everything was wet because of the rain, and that water is an excellent conductor, The truck's mission was accomplished. Lying on the ground, the protagonist was thinking that his life was really very miserable. And even so, he managed to reach an interesting conclusion that day. That was his lucky day because despite being electrocuted, the boy was still alive. In the year 2034, a virtual reality game emerged and became a huge sensation. Its name was War of the Gods. In just a few years, it had a huge impact on sports, entertainment, and culture, reaching an incredible number of almost 2 billion users. The game became so big that some players managed to monetize their gaming experience. Someone is calling for Hayam, asking him to wake up quickly. The boy opens his eyes not knowing where he is, and the man who woke him up is relieved that he is conscious. Our protagonist wakes up very frightened, and the doctor immediately switches to loan shark mode. Now that he's fine, he can pay the treatment bill. While going back home, he started to think that his luck isn't that good after all. He ended up having to spend money he didn't have to cover the hospital treatment he received. A truly regrettable outcome, but he tried to be grateful because his body is still functional, and it's the only thing he has in this crappy world. He hoped his family is doing well, but when he got home, he couldn't open the door through the biometric access. For a moment, he was puzzled by what was happening. The day before, it was working normally, but now the door refused to open. Revolting against this situation, he said he would move to a different rental as soon as he saved some money, until the door was opened from the inside. A child happily greeted him. It was his niece. That friendly greeting quickly changed our protagonist's mood, who was now very happy to see that child. He asked how her father was, and the man said he was also there. This is the protagonist's older brother. His name is Taewoo, and he needs to use a wheelchair. He said he heard that our protagonist had been in the hospital, asked if everything was okay with him, and the boy said he had just slipped on the floor. His brother was concerned about this explanation, but our protagonist reassured him, saying that if it were something serious, he would still be hospitalized. He said the lock might be broken since it didn't open with his identification. Even though the house was very old, that system is very resistant to malfunctions. Since it uses the same system as the capsules in the game War of the Gods, this sentence made our protagonist very worried. Various thoughts came to his mind considering what could have happened to him. Imagining that he wouldn't be able to log into the game, he said he needed to find an access capsule immediately. Arriving at the place, he said that he had entered all his information correctly, but his biometric data was wrong. All of his dialogue happens over the phone, and the support person said that he might be getting hacked. The suggestion for the boy's problem was complex. He would need to hire a lawyer to solve it, since biometric data is personal and non-transferable. Being the safest way to prove a person's identity, not even our protagonist believes the problem that is happening. He doesn't understand why his biometrics aren't working, and he started to remember what happened during the rain. His body was struck by a massive electric shock because of that accident. For a moment, he started thinking that this could be related to what was happening, and now he can't enter the game in any way. Thinking about everything he had done, he remembered that he had invested a lot of money in that character. Now everything had ended permanently. What his problems are still real, he still has a family to support. That's why he can't give up now, even though his difficulty is enormous. Abandoning that game is not a viable option. Since he's not going to give up on his dream of being a ranked player, he thought about starting to work in the game's mines, and he could earn money to pay all his monthly expenses. Because his biggest motivation is the family he needs to support, he decided that he would return to that capsule one more time to make money. He still had a character creation ticket, and now he would start from scratch once again. He never imagined that he would have to go through this experience again. The game's first message appears, asking if he wants to participate in the war between the gods. That experience is said to be better than real life. Our protagonist doesn't think it's that different. For those who don't have money, it's impossible to have a good start. His character's name would be Midas. It costs 880 coins to create a simple character, something that leaves our protagonist extremely outraged. Not to mention that all the items in this game are very expensive, and there are still people who want to live a comfortable virtual life, even if it costs a lot of money. While creating his character, he needs to decide which god will receive his devotion. It would be great, our protagonist thought, if things could be a little easier. Maybe he wouldn't be in as much trouble as he is now. He still hasn't been able to get over the loss of his character, since he had invested a lot of money into it. Since he can't pay, his character's items will be selected randomly, only having a lot of money or a lot of luck to overcome that. The cards that appeared in front of him were all useless, but he doesn't care anymore about his character's class since he's going to be a minor anyway. Before selecting a random card, his eyes stumbled upon something unusual. A golden card, different from all the others, was there with the Archmage class. This left our protagonist quite intrigued. As he moved his hand closer to the card, he started thinking he must be hallucinating. A message appeared in front of him saying that the War Dragon had accepted him as his 82nd follower, and now he had acquired the Archmage class. After that, his body was materialized in another place with several other players. Midas is currently at level 1 and his class ranking is legendary. A ranked player who has the same class as him had to spend thousands of dollars to achieve that result. And our protagonist had the grace to achieve it through luck. Looking around, he saw that other players were disappointed with the classes they got. They also wanted to be archmages. One of them said that legendary classes are only achieved by those who had a lot of money. Our protagonist is a veteran player. He knows that those words carry truth. But now he would no longer be a miner. He needs to level up quickly and start doing quests. That was so unlikely to happen that our protagonist is thinking it might be a system error. He started the tutorial, thinking he would soon receive a common class like all the other players who don't have money. He even had to wipe his own eyes because until then, everything was happening normally. In the tutorial message, it also sends secret information. He would receive an extra reward if he survived for 71 minutes. Receiving the title of Tutorial Master, a part of the game that none of the players care about. He's still trying to understand what he needs to do to survive 71 minutes. Being impressed by the reward, receiving 10 points for each of his attributes. That was absurd, since he only gets 5 points for each level up. The desperate way he talked about it made other players look at him like he was a madman. He had known that game for several years, but he had never heard of the title of Tutorial Master. Definitely, what was happening to him inside that game was not a system error. He decided that he would record his entire experience, because this is absolutely necessary. In a game where money is so influential, insider information is worth a lot. He is praying to God that nothing in that experience is a dream, hoping that it is reality. Finally, all those players were sent to a very unusual place. There were several monsters waiting for them, and they didn't know how they could defeat them until someone said that those creatures weren't there to be fought. Our protagonist realized that surviving for 71 minutes would not be an easy task. He saw that above the head of one of them, a green circle had appeared, and slowly its color was changing to red, leaving our protagonist completely terrified. It was an indication that the creatures had selected a player as their target. The game had become so big that new players entered that world to chase their own dreams, but ended up facing the same thing. The gaming experience is very difficult, and it is in the tutorial that beginners receive a harsh lesson in reality. The first one had already been defeated by the creatures. This left the rest of the players quite terrified. They started to wonder if the tutorial would only end when they were beaten to death by the creatures, since they couldn't defeat them. Our protagonist wasn't going to stay in that place waiting like a fish in a barrel, running away at full speed from the dangerous creatures, realizing that the abilities he had received are truly incredible, since he could even see the status window of those creatures. After running a lot, he managed to hide behind a bush, seeing that the circle above their heads changed color again, turning green. Realizing that he might have understood how that system works. When the circle is green, it means that the creature is in a peaceful state with no intention to attack. He took advantage of the moment to gain even more distance from that dangerous place. But when the circle changes color to red, it signals that danger is imminent. Our protagonist positioned himself for battle. Since one of those huge creatures had set him as its target, it almost managed to grab the boy's head in a single movement. Luckily, he managed to escape. He has a lot of experience dodging those creatures, and that is proving to be very useful in this new experience as a beginner. A little more than 10 minutes had already passed since he entered the tutorial. With his previous experience in the game and being able to see the creature's aggression indicator, running away became easy. It seems he is the only player who had access to that privileged information, and his recording is happening normally. Since there are only a few minutes left, he felt that his goal is close to being achieved. He still has an hour to stay in that place, and he decided that he would earn the title of Tutorial Master. After an hour, he was already completely exhausted. Getting out of his capsule, he started thinking about what he had done. Definitely no aspect of that experience was just in his head. Now he was going to watch the complete recording of the tutorial. He celebrated a lot upon completing that task, because he managed to survive for 71 minutes in that place. Just as he was celebrating, his character was attacked by the monsters. But since the conditions had been met, he earned the title of Tutorial Master. He really is an archmage. The game almost ejected him from the experience because his heart rate was extremely high. This is an automatic safety measure. Seeing that he was very breathless, his friend approached to check if everything was okay. Our protagonist could barely find the right words to say what happened. He said that he was quite upset for having to start from the beginning once again. His friend said that he has a very good mage account, and that it definitely shouldn't have been suspended. But seeing the state that the protagonist was in, he realized that the worst might have happened. And he apologized for being insensitive, but the boy replied that it's already water under the bridge. He said he would return to playing, asking his friend not to tell anyone else what happened. That will be enough to keep his secret. He still doesn't want anyone to know what happened with his new character. If the developers find out about his ability, he imagines there will be consequences and he could be hunted inside the game. That may have been a result of his accident, but it is the only chance he has to change his family's life, and he doesn't know how long that ability will last. Arriving at the starting village, he was determined that he would do all this again for his family. There are currently fewer than 100 players who have the same class as him. This is truly unbelievable. He needs to prioritize his development immediately. His first step is to go to the Explorers Guild. But looking at a tree that was there, he saw an unusual glow. Above it, there was a question mark, and our protagonist decided to get closer. immediately surprised by what he was seeing. It was just a dog sleeping under that shade. Legendary quests are the highest paying quests that exist in that game, and that glow was definitely from a legendary quest, something he had only heard about. Our protagonist remembered that he needed to control his anxiety since his heart rate couldn't rise too much. He needed to focus on the opportunity that had appeared. Just by finding that quest, he wouldn't need to worry about any of his monthly expenses. That made him start to like that cursed game based on money and luck. Carefully approaching the dog, he still needed to confirm. The system said it was lost and needed a rare medicine, and he would gain the favor of an NPC. He had never seen this quest in his entire life. All the other players could find out about the dog was that it was lost and sick. If he hadn't been able to read hidden information, he would have ignored it like everyone else. He realized it was really lucky to have found it and wouldn't let this opportunity pass. But he needed to stop by the Explorers Guild, which manages the quests in that area. He doesn't want to get involved with those kinds of people, but at the moment, he has no other choice. Even though there are many quests in the game, they become rarer as the level increases. The NPCs have a limit on the number of quests that can GIV in a day, and players started selling these quests inside the game. That's how the Explorers Guild was born. Since there was a niche to be explored due to that situation, they established their headquarters in the starting village. Once a player leaves that place, they can't return, so there are no veterans there to exploit newcomers. At first, this guild showed a lot of solidarity with new players, gaining space over time. They helped beginners to improve their public image, and it ended up working. The developers decided not to intervene in in-game affairs until the Explorers Guild became an official institution. And they are the real reason why our protagonist didn't want to create an alternate account. Once inside that building, he started receiving the standard explanation. There were 3 services: the basic, where he would receive a quest; the intermediate, where he would also get an item; and the luxury, where he would be helped by another player. The service could be paid with in-game currency or even with items. That player couldn't wait to get the money from our protagonist, who decided to buy the basic option. Those who don't pay that guild end up having to work forcibly in the mines. Their influence was so big that it extended into the real world. Those who couldn't pay their debts had to give up their characters. They are true parasites. Our protagonist received a list of the quests with the locations he should head to. A man said that he had received the quest to complete Hayden's task. Our protagonist wants to confirm the information before starting, clicking his finger on that information. Immediately, the screen containing it rose into the sky. He never imagined there was that much information, but his task was already defined. He had found the legendary quest that appeared together with the lost dog. His goal is to keep everything a secret to avoid raising suspicion, deciding that he would start with the easier tasks. After defeating some creatures in the forest, he managed to level up. For him, it was very easy since his stats are high. The system said that the god he serves is watching his actions, giving him an opportunity. He could select a skill. This happens at certain levels, but he never got anything good. But he believes he's still on his lucky streak, hoping to get something very rare. Except those cards didn't offer anything special. Everything he received was completely ordinary, but he's relieved that the attack spell he used before had appeared. Now he can use fireballs for combat, properly prepared to advance, and he started wondering whether he should do the secret quest. As soon as he approached that building, he spoke to the man who had helped him earlier. He asked if our protagonist had already finished, and the boy said yes. He said he seems pretty skilled, and our protagonist replied that he almost died trying to defeat a creature. The man started thinking that he was a mediocre player. He must be a complete beginner. He thought the boy probably bought the quest item somewhere. It's only a matter of time before he gets exploited by the people in that game. But he was surprised by the conversation he was having with another character, who had a lot of goblin leather. The character started complimenting the boy's skill, and asked him to fetch an even rarer item that those creatures possess. A new quest appeared, and our protagonist said he bought 30 pieces of leather. He tried to use less than what the quest had asked for. But that character took everything he had. This made him really upset because he wanted to be compensated for the items he had lost. That other player was observing everything very closely, starting to think about several things regarding our protagonist. It didn't take long for him to notice he was being watched. Apologizing for what happened, he said he couldn't compensate for the lost items. It's part of the contract. If the user doesn't have knowledge of all the information, he is responsible for the results. Our protagonist is very upset that he has to solve the problem by himself. He asked himself if everything he does in that quest is really his responsibility. Upon hearing that, he showed that he was quite outraged. He left there upset for having lost 20 pieces of leather, while the other player was relieved because he had escaped a big problem. However, everything is going according to his plan. Nothing will block his path. To get that next item, he really had to put in some effort. And taking it to the virtual character, he started thinking about the effort he had to make, finally managing to get the necessary item to heal the lost puppy, something that made him truly happy. Our protagonist ran to help that little creature, so he could complete the legendary and secret quest. He put a little bit of the medicine in the palm of his hands, giving it to the puppy to drink, hoping to receive a skill card from that. His enthusiasm is so big that he imagines he'll get rich soon. The system said that the dog who had lost its own name will now serve him. Our player received the title of Master of a Divine Beast, words he was not expecting to read upon completing that quest. He was immediately saddened because he couldn't sell that creature, but the little dog was barking at him very happily. The boy started to wonder if that was a wolf pup. He no longer cared about the appearance of the creature, but hoped it had good abilities. The system said that he needs to name it. He looked at the small creature very focused, and decided that its name would be Lucky. After being named, the system said that the creature received a new life with its new name. The glow from that blinded our protagonist's vision. He was getting more and more impressed with the things that were happening. The more the creature glowed, the faster his heart was beating, and the system noticed this. He would be forcibly disconnected. While walking outside, someone said that it had been a long time since they'd seen our protagonist. Another person said that he should greet people when he meets them, but our protagonist is way too exhausted. His friend said to leave him alone because he's been depressed since he lost his account. The other guy became very worried about that since he knows about the huge investment he had made in that game. The truth is that our protagonist is laughing like a happy fool because that wolf is Fenrir. And now he is absolutely sure of it. It is the strongest divine creature in that game. There's nothing that can surpass it in close combat. As if his legendary class wasn't enough, he also managed to get powerful divine beast, opportunities that won't happen again. While thinking about the possibilities, his phone started ringing. It was his niece who had called, and he said he was going to buy fried chicken for her. But he received a terrifying piece of news. Something had happened to his brother. So he rushed to the hospital as fast as he could. His niece was there alone, looking at her father lying in a hospital bed. As soon as he arrived, he found the child crying desperately. Immediately, he picked her up in his arms, asking what had happened, and a doctor asked if he was the child's guardian. She said that his brother's heart was weakened, and his blood pressure had dropped too much, but the situation was not fatal. Since the patient has a pacemaker in his heart, he needs to replace it frequently and go through rehabilitation. And it had been a long time since the last time he went for medical checkups. That night, they had to stay in the hospital. Our protagonist was sitting in a chair while the child slept in his lap. Even while sleeping, it was possible to see the sad expression on her face. That situation was heartbreaking. Everything in this world revolves around money, which is also the root of all problems. He decided that he could no longer hesitate in that game because he needs to change his family's life, and he will take full advantage of this opportunity. In the beginner hunting field, several players are already gathered to gain experience. Seeing our protagonist's creature, some are enchanted because the wolf is very cute. Some manage to identify it as a divine beast cub. And indeed, it looks like a very cute cub. After that legendary task, our protagonist managed to obtain two things. In the company of his beast, he doesn't need to form a party, having the freedom to play solo. He just needs to strengthen his character a bit more to be able to leave the starting village. The difficulty will increase greatly, as well as the rewards. He also received the skill card that the War Dragon sent. Opening the system, he said he would accept the reward. Immediately, several cards started to materialize in front of him. They were organizing themselves before him, until they formed a large panel. Our protagonist even thought that it would be completely useless. But among those cards, there was one with a unique skill. He had received telekinesis, something extremely rare in that game. Able to move objects through the air, or in the case of battle, sabotage the enemy's movement. It is restricted to users of telekinetic magic, but his class can learn any type of magic. Things have been going very favorably for him since the beginning, imagining that Lucky's presence has made his life easier. Heading deeper into the forest, he decided he would continue hunting. Several monsters are already waiting for our protagonist. Some goblins had just hunted a small rabbit. One of the creatures heard strange noises and was immediately attacked by Lucky. The little creature proved to be truly formidable in battle. It didn't take long for it to take down the first of the monsters. The other two tried to attack the little wolf cub, and they were about to hit it with their weapons. But our protagonist is also capable of using fireballs, hitting one of the creatures directly in the face. He waits to see the result of his action, becoming quite excited with the result. Lucky also seems very happy to have contributed to that victory. Those monsters are no longer a challenge for them, but on his other account, it was quite difficult. This is being easier than expected, and our protagonist is thinking about going even deeper into the forest. Looking at the wolf cub, he started wondering if it understands basic commands or if it could be trained. Since those monsters were way too easy, they walked toward the darker parts of the forest. Several crows were perched on a tree. The birds suddenly took flight, leaving the boy very concerned. He knows this can only mean one thing: a boss creature would appear in that place. A system screen confirmed this news. There was less than an hour left until the Goblin Champion appears. In this type of challenge, it's possible to get great rewards compared to the traditional hunting method. The big problem is the difficulty. Only the best players can participate effectively. It's like a star in the sky. Everyone can see it, but only a few privileged ones can reach it. The rewards start with the items that are received, plus the broadcast of the game to others. It's truly astronomical. Our protagonist has a long road ahead if he wants to reach the level of a ranked player. He thought about sharing that information with the community and buying something delicious for his niece, but he became hesitant about passing that information along. Maybe he should take advantage of the opportunity alone. There is no one nearby, and he has already wiped out all the creatures in the area. Thinking about all these things, he still doesn't know what the best strategy is. And he needed to think very carefully because this decision is important. Realizing that being greedy in that situation could be beneficial. Sticking to safe paths might not bring the money he needs in the time he has. And he has a huge need to change his reality. He is already tired of depending on others. Much more determined, he decided he would do it himself. He had watched videos of that monster being defeated several times and was already familiar with its attack pattern. He had never tried anything like this alone, but now he has the dog as his companion. While waiting for the time to run out, he is confident that in Lucky's company, he will achieve victory. Together, they will defeat this creature. The two stayed there in the forest, and he had to dig a big hole. Finally, he had completed that small excavation, and the countdown had come to an end. The dangerous creature would soon appear. Our protagonist ordered Lucky to move to the rear. Heavy footsteps start to be heard in that place. The creature's eyes have a threatening glow, but our protagonist remains unwavering and determined. He carefully observes the monster had appeared. It doesn't take long for the creature to target him, furiously charging at him. Since he already knew its attack patterns, dodging it proved to be way too easy, and the creature's foot hit exactly where he was digging, causing it to immediately fall, falling towards the bottom of that hole. With the creature inside, he threw a flask in its direction. It hit the top of the monster's head. As the liquid dripped down its mask, the creature tried to understand what was happening. And outside, our protagonist was preparing a fireball to hit, striking the creature right in the face. Its attack pattern varies according to its constitution, being a huge barrier for beginner players. Not even players with alternate accounts would attack that creature alone, but there is a way to bypass its attack pattern, making the fight much easier, and our protagonist didn't stop throwing fireballs. The creature is being brutally hit, practically being burned alive. Finally, one of its hands managed to reach the top. The monster managed to escape its temporary prison, but Lucky wasn't there just for show and started biting the creature's hand, making the monster fall once again into that hole. The creature's health was already seriously compromised, and this time it tries to climb out of the hole with great determination, managing to throw itself upwards, and our protagonist realized that the attack pattern had changed once again. He watches closely as the creature keeps gaining height. Moving one of its hands, it started aiming at our protagonist, but its attack was once again interrupted by Lucky, who managed to bite it on the neck, throwing the goblin warrior to the ground. The creature was completely incapable of understanding what was happening. That player was too much of a challenge for it, and our protagonist calmly approaches it with a fireball in his hands. In the distance, it's possible to see the campfire he had caused with that attack. He'd received the title of Goblin Warrior Hunter from the system, getting very excited with this achievement. Hugging the puppy with great joy, they celebrated that big victory. But he recognized that this creature isn't as difficult as the ones outside. After winning, he realized it would have been great if that had been streamed. He could have made money and maybe even gotten a sponsorship. While thinking about what he could have done, he saw several system windows popping up around him. Now he has a lot to do, and the War Dragon gave him another opportunity to get cards. While he was looking at this, Lucky noticed something happening. The little creature started barking, and our protagonist saw a red glow in that place. Immediately becoming impressed by what he saw, the mask that the creature was wearing appeared in front of him. It's an item that can be sold for 1 million coins. Meanwhile, outside, he started thinking that the items obtained from defeating strong creatures are really expensive. He would really like to use it, but he needs to pay for his brother's hospital bills. If he weren't so desperate for money, things could have been a little different. Until he received a phone call. It was from the insurance company. They wanted to talk about compensation for the shock he had received. Those words left him completely paralyzed. He stood still for a moment. He said that ever since the accident, he's been anxious and traumatized and would like to talk about it at another time, because he was going through a very difficult moment in his life. Maybe that trauma will follow him forever. Placing his card on the table, he asked to deposit 300 credits into his account. The clerk found the amount strange and asked if our protagonist had gotten any valuable item. Then he remembered the call he made to the insurance company, where he was very convincing about the trauma he had gone through, managing to get compensation from them for what happened. He told the clerk what he had done, who was disappointed with this conduct. He knows that it wasn't the right thing to do, but he managed to get enough money to get through that month, allowing him to focus on his own growth. And time was crucial in the moment he was in. Once again, he went deep into the forest. The creatures were already prepared to receive him, but the fireballs were way too powerful. Those little creatures are being wiped out by our player, who managed to climb onto a branch of one of the forest trees, staying out of his enemy's reach. He saw that this time they were protected with shields. Casting another spell in his hand, he revealed that he was anxious to see if they would be able to block this one. Sending an ice arrow in their direction, it pierced the shield as if it were made of paper. It was so powerful that it resembled the shot of a firearm. While he was focused on hitting the creatures that were fleeing, he didn't notice that one of them was climbing the tree. The monster intended to attack him stealthily, launching its attack toward our protagonist's back, but it was intercepted midway by Lucky's fierce jaws, who managed to knock the creature off the tree, making our player feel very safe with his puppy protecting his back. After finishing off the monsters in that area, they headed to the next hunting ground, managing to obtain the Goblin Equipment Set, which is rare and grants additional strength and magical power. Thanks to his constant hunts, he managed to collect several items. But none of them are unique items like the mask he had obtained. They also don't have any additional effects. Sometimes he just wished that a unique item would fall from the sky. While petting his dog, he started hearing some footsteps in the forest, which were soon followed by a desperate scream. A boy was approaching him, desperately asking someone to help him. Because he was about to be annihilated, a humanoid figure was about to strike him from behind. His weapon struck that player fatally, reducing his health points to 0. It was a group of players hunting another player. They were disappointed that he was defeated with a single blow. Mages are too weak. There was also a hostage accompanying that group, who was very upset about what happened, saying he would report that behavior to his guild and that they wouldn't go unpunished. The biggest jerk in that group didn't believe those words. They didn't care about what they were doing, and because of the level restriction, he couldn't ask for help. They started beating him for no apparent reason. They kept harassing that player, telling him to quit the game because when he returned, he'd find himself in the same situation. This type of player stays in the starting village even after passing level 12 and only attacks inexperienced players. The worst kind of trash who enjoy taking advantage of the weak. This kind of person really irritates our protagonist. But fighting that group at his current level is a stupid decision. He called Lucky so they could get out of there. But the little dog is burning with rage, eager to take down those jerks with violence. And the boy realized what the dog wanted to do. This duo had already proven they were capable of defeating boss creatures, so he started wondering if it would be difficult to defeat those people, since they don't seem to be any stronger than that monster. The small group of jerks left the forest, meeting up with other players. They looked at those people as potential victims, and they were very eager to continue committing atrocities. The bald guy decided he would attack whoever was closest, aiming his attack at a woman who had her back turned. But someone reacted quickly, casting a fireball, which was about to hit the bald face of that despicable player. The fire spread upon impact, leaving the girl frightened as she still didn't know what was happening. Faced with that unusual scene, the bald guy's friends became worried. They started intimidating the other players, asking who had done that. Our protagonist had hoped he would be a bit more resistant, saying that today's live stream would be the hunt for jerk players. He said he was honored to meet them, introducing himself as a streamer archmage. One of them tried to hide his face, and the smartest one said he needed to hide his username. Our protagonist was bluffing, but he knew this kind of person is terrified of being exposed. Since that fool had blocked his own vision, he was hit by an attack without noticing, being thrown several meters away from his original position. The remaining player realized that our protagonist was using more than one consumable, and there's only one class capable of doing that. And he started thinking that in front of him was the alternate character of a very rich person. Not willing to find out what he was capable of, he decided to flee from that situation. But our protagonist was motivated to teach him a small lesson. Lucky appeared to fulfill the secret desire of his heart, to take down jerks through violence. The useless player was completely incapable of overcoming the strength of the little creature. Very weakened, he tried to recover while our protagonist approached him, asking if he was really a streamer archmage. He said he would remember his username, but that threat didn't scare our protagonist, who told the jerk to go ahead and try, unleashing a very powerful attack against him. The system stated that the karma of those players was too low, which is calculated based on players' actions. And because of that score, our protagonist could collect more items than usual. For having finished off those filthy souls, he was quite pleased with what he had done. And because of his privileges, he's able to see absolutely everything they have. He began to focus on the valuable items. One of them had items that were able to work in harmony with the goblin mask he had obtained. In his current situation, there wasn't much to think about. He was going to use that combination. Little by little, the clothes he was wearing started to disappear. Now he possesses that unique set. All of his attributes increase by 25 points, and the damage dealt to goblins increases by 10%. Looking at his stats, he remembered that on his previous character, he had just over 100 intelligence points at level 15. He has the same amount now, but is only level 9. Anyone would say that this must be a system error. Until Lucky started howling beside him, it was so loud that it startled our protagonist. He knows his companion is happy, but doesn't understand why the little creature started howling. Only then did he notice what the system was saying about him. The divine beast had gained a new power, and our protagonist needed to choose it. This opportunity left him impressed. Several cards appeared once again, and among them was a golden card. He was sure it must be something very interesting. Choosing that card, he discovered it was a legendary attribute. The puppy's wolf ears began to twitch, while his entire body emitted a very delicate golden glow. Treasure Hunter. Lucky now has the ability to identify hidden treasures, a blessing that our poor protagonist could never have imagined receiving. He started to think that this ability was directed at in-game items, but as he thought about it, other things came to mind. There's a man who is considered the luckiest in that game, the master of the Immortals Guild, who owns Ephemerer as a companion. He gained notoriety by finding hidden treasures. His luck was so great that people started seeing him as a scammer. Only now did our protagonist realize that there was truth behind that luck. After receiving this blessing, they started walking through the forest. He decided he would put Lucky's new ability to immediate use. The little wolf pup was quite enthusiastic about this new responsibility, walking very motivated through the forest. It didn't take long for them to find rare items, mushrooms, and medicinal herbs. High-level ingredients that can be sold for a good price. There were even plants that our player had never seen before. But the real treasure he possesses is his canine friend. The puppy suddenly stopped walking and started looking in a specific direction. Looking inside that hole, our protagonist began to wonder if there was something in there too. The two examined that opening a little more carefully, and the system said that it was the secret hideout of the Goblin Sorcerer. This made him realize that it was a hidden dungeon. For having said that out loud, he immediately covered his mouth, very worried. The system informed him that its level is unique, it can only be accessed by players up to level 12, and one of its rewards is 10 points in all attributes. He had never heard of anything like this in the starter village, and he learned from the system that he was the first to discover it. If he sold that information, he would get enough money to support his family for an entire month, but he doesn't want to do that. Faced with these possibilities, he started to feel very confused, and it was stressing him out. But Wolf Pup was unable to understand what his friend was feeling. But our protagonist cannot consider himself a true player if he sells that information. He is determined to completely clear that secret dungeon. Once inside, he found himself in a dark and damp place. In a large hall, several creatures were waiting for him. There was also a staff decorated with skulls of monsters from that forest. It belonged to the Goblin Sorcerer, a creature already at level 16. A purple mist hovered over the creatures. Hidden beneath it, a pair of determined eyes was approaching the first monster. A precise leap was executed. Lucky was attacking the first of his enemies, leaving all the others on high alert because they had been invaded. The Wolf Pup howled on top of the creature he had defeated, drawing the attention of his enemies. It didn't take long before fireballs started flying through the air, striking the faces of those poor creatures, which ended up making the Goblin Sorcerer extremely furious. Our protagonist entered the hall, and his presence left the creatures terrified. He was recording the entire experience, telling his audience that he was about to clear the hidden dungeon of the starter village. Starting his attack, he ordered his canine friend to charge at the monsters, and it didn't take long for Lucky to bite yet another one of them. Our boy knows that the sorcerer's defense is low, but he uses powerful attacks to buy time. If he acts at the right moment, that creature won't be a challenge for him. So the boy started running toward the monster. Taking advantage of the time needed to cast its spell, he struck the sorcerer with a knife attack. He was very satisfied with the damage caused by that blow, realizing that the life of the strong is truly delightful. After executing it, he quickly backed away from the creature, because now he was going to use a powerful fire spell, managing to hit the sorcerer with his fireballs. The enemy's health was already at a critical level. Even so, the monster remained determined, furious at the actions of that player. Our protagonist realized that he had almost won, but since the creature was still alive, he needed to pay attention to the next attack pattern. And from what his eyes could see, the next spell being prepared was going to be powerful. The boy really wasn't alone in that dungeon. Little paws kept moving. Lucky bit the sorcerer's leg, causing him to lose concentration. And that made him stop casting the spell he was preparing, giving our protagonist enough time to react. The fire was already flying toward the creature, which was hit once again by the player's attacks. Its lifeless body fell onto the throne where it had rested its entire life. The system confirmed that the sorcerer had been defeated, leaving the pair of friends very happy. Our protagonist ran toward the puppy to hug him, until a sinister voice started addressing him, calling for the human, and the boy looked back. He never imagined that the sorcerer was still alive. Furious, the creature said it had returned. And only now will the war of the gods begin. The sentence it spoke left the boy deeply intrigued. After that, the creature's body began to disappear as if Thanos had snapped his fingers. The way it disappeared was very strange. Our protagonist thought it must be a game bug. But he didn't care about that since he was anxious to find out what he would receive. He had also recorded the entire experience and would make sure to sell it for a good price. While examining the items, Lucky got off his lap. The boy obtained the Goblin Sorcerer's Staff, a unique ranked item that is worth good money. You only need to be level 10 to use it, and its attack power is 31 points, making it a very interesting auction for him right now. But there was one piece of information there that left him devastated. He couldn't sell it. That simple sentence had stolen all the joy from our protagonist's heart. He was so outraged that he thought about breaking it, recognizing that this game is a disgrace to humanity. A system window informed him about the creation of the main scenario, something the boy was ignoring, until he finally paid more attention to what he had read. The system had mentioned the main scenario, which made him so worried that he almost lost his underwear. Kim Min-soo is the brilliant mind who created the most perfect virtual reality world, the game War of the Gods. His motivation was only to create a story. He never even thought about making a profit. Eventually, he passed away and people searched inside his game for the true purpose, the main scenario. And this was happening right before the protagonist's eyes. Very excited by the discovery, he started wondering if it was really true. Players had searched everywhere for this, and that information was hidden in the starter village. For a long time, players said it was just a bug, but the truth is that very few had searched in that place. If the starter village hadn't been turned into a miserable place by the Explorers Guild, this would certainly have been found earlier. Now our protagonist realized he needed to take advantage of this chance. He is not going to share this information with the community. He will try to do everything on his own, in the company of his faithful canine friends, since it was thanks to him that he found that place. The system said that he still hadn't used the opportunity given by the War Dragon, and the boy remembered he could pick some cards. He said he would do that quickly since he needed to focus on the main scenario. But his eyes were really bothered by the glow that appeared in front of him. A single golden card was floating. Polymorph ability. He can transform into a creature he has already hunted. It is an illusion. In the starter village, life goes on as normal. Our protagonist needs to talk to a character named Yon to progress in his quest. Its house is like a dungeon. Upon entering it, you are taken to another place. As soon as he passed through the door, the system informed him that he had entered Yong's house. It didn't take long for his canine companion to become alert, starting to bark. A person approached them, saying that they were way too noisy as guests. Yang introduced himself, asking if they had come there to leave this city and venture into the world. But our protagonist remained silent for a moment. He said that he had a question for him, asking if he knew anything about the nameless god. Immediately, that character's bald head began to shine as if it were illuminated by the heavens, until an exclamation mark appeared above him. Our protagonist realized that he had asked the right question. The bald man began to speak on the subject, saying it was related to those who were lost in the War of the Gods and turned away from the throne. Beings who could no longer be called gods and were forgotten by the stories but left their legacy hidden in that world. Looking at our protagonist, the bald man asked if he wished to know more about the traces of the nameless god. Our protagonist could feel that he was getting closer and closer to the legends, responding that he was indeed interested in learning more about that story and where he could find the traces of the nameless god. Removing a ring from his finger, the bald man said he had searched for this for a long time but was not able to reach the end. But maybe the young man in front of him could achieve a different result, handing him the ring. He said he should meet Sakhalin in the city of Wiga. Just show her this ring and the woman will show him the way. And you wish the boy luck on his journey. The main scenario had finally begun. Those were all the pieces of information that the character could give to our protagonist. Then he asked if he was already prepared to leave the starter village. That made the boy very excited because he was finally ready to leave that place, so he said he was prepared. A magic circle appeared under his feet, making the little puppy very frightened. The bald man wished him success in his future battles, and a great bluish glow shone in the sky of that village. There is one thing that all users agree on. The game only truly begins when you leave that village. In a very large plaza, several players are appearing. Those newbies are happy because they managed to leave the starter village. Some are relieved that they don't have to pay the Explorers Guild. Around that plaza, there are several merchants, and one of them is advertising his fruits. It resembles a real city, and the players watch in awe at its structure. That is the city of Wiga. To get through the crowd, our protagonist keeps asking people to make way. Some people comment on this attitude, saying that our protagonist isn't paying attention to where he's walking. He was heading directly to the shady parts of the city. The ring he received from that bald man has legendary attributes that made him think that he would continue receiving unique items if he kept following the main scenario. Imagining the exorbitant amount of money he would make, he realized that this is truly an interesting scenario. The puppy started barking and the boy told him to stay hidden because they needed to be cautious, since they needed to reach Sakhalin's location. The alleys he was walking through became increasingly abandoned. Finally, he came across a very discreet door. This is the house of the person he is looking for. Our protagonist had no ceremony. He simply opened the door and went inside. A person asked who he was. She was holding a knife and wanted to know how he was able to get in. Since her residence is hidden by magic, the woman in front of him was Sakhalin herself. The protagonist asked if that identity really belonged to her. Showing the ring to the girl, he said that he had received orders from the bald man to find her, and she immediately recognized that item. The system said that the quest was completed and our protagonist was eager for his next challenge. But the girl couldn't believe that the bald man had sent a brat like him. The baldness must have taken away his rationality. She said she wouldn't talk to someone who had only defeated goblins, ordering our protagonist to prove his worth. She said he should go to the forest and hunt 10,000 orcs, and the system recognized that as a new quest, which left the boy completely speechless. That number would be way too much work to achieve. He said it was simply ridiculous, and the girl mocked him back, asking if he was incapable. After that provocation, he had to swallow his anger. Once outside, he said he would do as he was ordered, while thinking that this doesn't make any sense, imagining it would take months to complete that task. And he has no time to waste. However, he came across his system screen. It was informing our player that he needed to do this to obtain a fragment of the nameless god. Several players are already in this forest. The fight against the creatures is fierce. Shields are absolutely necessary. The huge creature demonstrates its power and fury in an unstoppable manner. The archer told the damage dealer that he needs to take the opportunity while the shield warrior holds the creature. Since the distance was safe, they began attacking it while being watched. Our protagonist finally found the true objective of that task. He needs to defeat all those creatures to obtain the item they randomly carry. But our player has eyes that can see hidden information. He only needs to defeat the monster carrying that item. Fortunately, he has already found that creature. The problem is that it is already being hunted by another team of players. Even though it's a game, doing things this way doesn't please our protagonist, until he noticed something quite unusual. One of those players started disappearing. His teammates were scared. He had been forcibly disconnected because the game has a 5-hour usage limit, after which it forces the player to rest. That absence completely changes the outcome of the battle. Our protagonist realized this was a great opportunity, getting closer and closer to solving this problem easily. After that player left their team, his companions started being defeated, and that small team was no longer able to deal enough damage to that creature, which charged toward them completely furious, determined to finish off the remaining humans. The small woman began screaming in fear, but before she was hit by the creature's axes, an explosion happened right before her eyes. Our protagonist is calling his audience to watch what's happening, because he found a team of players in danger, and asked them what he should do in this situation. The woman didn't think twice and immediately started asking for his help. Our protagonist asked, and his audience had heard that plea for help, that it couldn't be ignored by him. While wielding his staff, he called Lucky to join him in that challenging endeavor. In free fall, our protagonist decided to use his bow. The creature carefully watches the approach of its new enemies. Meanwhile, the wolf pup descends the cliff with great skill, executing his signature move perfectly, the neck bite. Even though his mouth is small, he managed to cause significant damage. But the monster proved very strong, managing to drive the wolf pup away. That distraction was enough for our protagonist to hit with Fireball once again. Now he had enough distance to use the bow, realizing that even with his attacks and the effort made by the other team, that monster still had a lot of health. This was expected, and even so, the boy is excited about his possibilities. It's that thrill that makes people spend money on the game. The monster's heavy footsteps are approaching our player. Swinging its axes aggressively, the creature intends to eviscerate that player. Even in the face of that relentless attack, the boy wasn't scared for a moment, leaving his dodge to the very last second, taking the opportunity to use his ice attacks. Ready to shoot his arrows, he thought about how he lasted 5 years in this game without any kind of luck. The arrows were already properly prepared to finish off the creature. As they flew toward the monster's chest, the boy remembered that he managed to survive only through his own effort. One arrow hit the creature in the shoulder and the other in the diaphragm. That wasn't enough to finish its life, but while it stood still, the monster realized that its suffering wasn't over. Since that young player was gathering fire in his hands, the impact of the fireballs caused a massive explosion. This type of challenge is below our protagonist's potential. After the smoke dissipated, only part of the creature's body was visible. The rest had been incinerated. With his victory, the system confirmed that he hunted an orc. Finally, the player who had been disconnected returned to the fight, apologizing to his teammates for what happened. But the scene was completely different, leaving that man puzzled. He had no idea what had happened. With everyone gathered, they thanked our protagonist for his help. He said that beginners should help each other. Now he needs to continue his journey. There is an unspoken rule in that game. The players who attack a monster first have priority over the items. And before the loot could be divided, our protagonist said he had something to say. He pretended he was streaming and thanked his followers for their donations. Using all of his acting skills, he told them that his followers wanted him to collect the items. But he said they should already know the rules. He wasn't on the priority list. After hearing this, those players started talking. They said he could go ahead. At first, he tried to refuse, but they confirmed that it was okay. If it weren't for his help, they would have been annihilated. Our protagonist's cunning proved to be very effective, telling that group it wouldn't be polite if he kept refusing. He went back to acting for his audience, saying that he had received great kindness from those players, and now he was going to examine the items. Extending his hand to the pile of ashes, he began analyzing what was there. 3 items were added to his inventory, and that very rare ore was among what he collected. This was the boy's real objective in eradicating the creature, acting for his audience, which doesn't even exist yet. He said there was no valuable item, but in his mind he was relieved to have gotten that. Until the girl he had saved decided to approach. She wanted to know the name of that streamer because she believed their meeting was fate, and she wanted to share it with her friends. The boy doesn't make that kind of content yet, but he admitted that eventually he would. He said his name is the Archmage Streamer. He immediately returns to that girl's house. The boy handed her the ore he had found. In disbelief at his efficiency, she said he had gotten lucky, and the boy agreed with that version. Now there was nothing else she could do. Because luck is also a skill, and the system informed the player that the quest had been completed. Thus, he leveled up once more and could receive a card as a reward, something he did immediately. Among them, he recognized a red card. Long Throw, also a unique ranked ability. The spell's damage increases depending on the distance between him and his enemy. That would be excellent for hunting large monsters. While analyzing the card, he noticed that a question mark appeared above the girl's head. Looking at her, he asked what the purpose of that small ore was. She asked if the player knew why it was so difficult to find traces of the nameless god. It's because of the barrier that was established, and only his followers can get close to where the traces are. And she asked if the boy knew what needed to be done to destroy the barrier. Looking at the energy surrounding the girl, he wondered if she also intended to become a follower. And that's exactly what she was going to do, showing him a dark ring made with a fragment of the nameless god. Also unique rank, that item allows its user to cross the barrier of that god. This made our players start thinking about where the altars of that entity were. The girl told him that this journey was going to be very dangerous, but he assured her that there was no danger that could stop him since danger was his middle name. She seemed to like those words. A new quest was unlocked, heading toward the main scenario. He needs to find the hidden altar and discover its secrets. As a reward, he will receive a legendary card. The quality of this reward made our protagonist's eyes pop. Getting a legendary skill card would be capable of completely changing his life. Given the quality of the reward, he thought the difficulty of this task must be impressive. It was the first time he had seen a legendary card as a quest reward. In the company of his canine friend, finding the altar wouldn't be difficult. Even the orc quest would have taken too long under other circumstances. But he was intrigued by the part of the mission that involved discovering the secret. A sudden bark from his little friend startled the boy. The puppy was sitting with a very serious expression. For a moment, the boy was thoughtful until he realized that his friend would help him in whatever way possible. He finally entered that forest. Looking at something peculiar, he began wondering if that was the entrance to the secret altar. It was a small hole in the ground. This had to be a joke. But after everything he had seen, he no longer doubted what the game was capable of. If it weren't for his eyes and his canine companion, this would have taken a long time. He decided to analyze the information about that dungeon. Its level was legendary. He needed to defeat the rotten orc and would receive an additional 3% in all his attributes upon completion. The boss creature must be much stronger than a traditional orc, and only players below level 20 can do it. Faced with this information, the boy began to think, until he called his canine companion to join him, saying that they were going to hunt something else. These words left the little puppy extremely confused. But this player is level 11, and defeating that challenge could be a lot of work. He would return there when he had enough level because he understands there is no need to rush his journey, asking once again for the puppy to follow him. Because now he was going to show his companion what it's like to be the support of someone powerful. A muscular arm full of rage rose into the air, striking the ground in a devastating way. The force of the impact threw some players far away. That group is desperate, and someone started arguing with the healer. Our protagonists saw their despair, because those people were having difficulty defeating those monsters, and the forest remains as brutal as ever. His first experience with a group of players in that place was very challenging. Soon after that, people with spare money started investing heavily in the game, increasing the gap between those who paid and those who couldn't. He used to hate that kind of person in his early days, but he is sure that now he must be seen the same way by players who don't have much money. Looking to the side, he identified a lone target. He immediately began gathering his ice magic in one hand. His bow was already properly prepared to annihilate that monster, firing his ice arrow toward it. As soon as the creature saw what was coming toward it, it panicked. The arrow managed to hit its shoulder, but the injury wasn't fatal. But that wound was enough to make it drop the sword it was carrying. Our protagonist prepared a fireball, throwing the magic toward the creature. As soon as it touched the orc's flesh, it released a massive explosion, causing our protagonist to level up once again in his journey. In the city, some rumors started spreading that there is a mage in the forest who is massacring the orcs. As if he were a one-man army, the guy who heard this was still a bit incredulous. They also heard that his class is Archmage, and they already assume he must be a streamer. A woman said he's just a rich kid bastard. And that man who was drinking became curious to know who this young man must be and what items he could get if he killed him. The rumors are so many that our protagonist feels his ears burning. But at that moment, there's a creature nearby that is completely enraged. It charges like a locomotive toward the protagonist, and he realized he needed to stay focused. Quickly summoning a fireball in the palm of his hand, he launched it into the air, intending to hit it like a baseball, sending his magical attack toward the creature with great precision. The result made him very happy, as if it were a home run. After defeating that enemy, a bluish light began to appear before him. Receiving the incredible information that he had reached level 20, he immediately started celebrating with his canine friend, even happier because he managed to do this in just 4 days. If he had progressed this fast 5 years ago, all the biggest guilds in the game would be subordinate to him. Since he had gained another level, he was eager to know what card he would get this time, and the puppy barked at him. It was as if the little creature sensed that something good was coming, and if a legendary card appeared there, it would be truly satisfying. But since he reached level 11, the cards that had appeared for him weren't very useful. As soon as he finished thinking that both he and Lucky were shocked by what they were seeing. In the real world, outside of his capsule, someone started shouting that they had gotten something unique. The noise was so exaggerated that it started disturbing the other players. The blonde guy said he had gotten a unique ring and was so happy that he would pay for his friend's lunch. One of them said it had been a while since someone had obtained a unique item. Looking at our protagonist, who was sitting, he asked if he wanted to order something to eat too. The boy's expression was completely depressed, saying that he wouldn't order anything. His friend witnessed that and was left speechless because he was worried, and our protagonist asked to be sent back in once again. His friend needed to prepare the capsule again. As the capsule was closing, he was impressed that his friend was refusing free food. Something insane must have happened to him. That skill card is incredible. Dignity of the Legendary Dragon. Targets around the user receive 10% more damage, and the area increases with the user's level. He is so happy that he can't control his own expressions. With the throw, he is able to increase the damage he deals. And the dragon's dignity increases the damage received by all enemies within the area of effect, meaning every player who joins him in battle will receive an additional 10% attack boost. He has definitely become more useful than the average player. He just needs to join any team to ensure success. But if that were his greatest desire, he would have already joined a guild. He is determined to make so much money that he will send his niece to art school. and then move to a huge apartment where each of them will have their own room. Looking at the cup, he said that it doesn't understand anything it heard, but keeps reacting very well. Now they have returned to the entrance of that dungeon. Our protagonist opened his inventory window, equipping the ring that was made from the fragment of the nameless god. He needs to use this item if he wants to open the entrance to the dungeon. Putting his whole arm inside that hole, he realized it was quite deep. Opening his hand, trying to find anything that could be useful to open it, until the ring started reacting to something. He was feeling the connection between the item and that dungeon. Because of the link between the item and the dungeon, our protagonist managed to make the entrance reveal itself. The pieces of earth were moving aside, causing a small earthquake, and in the middle of the two sections, a staircase emerged. What was once just a small hole had now become a complete passage to the underground. Seeing all that transformation, the boy was very pleased. Inside the dungeon, they started fighting creatures, and luckily he was able to dodge quite skillfully, while our protagonist remained at a safe distance to use his long-range spells, hitting a fireball straight into that orc's face. With that, they had already defeated 22 creatures. If he were streaming, he would have already received some donations, but he still isn't ready to reveal himself to the world. Looking around the area, he found something interesting. A large door carved into the wall, and he assumed that behind it was the boss of that place. Our protagonist opened the door very cautiously. A foul smell became very noticeable, making the boy cover his nose. The system warned that this caused him to get slightly sick, and all his stats were reduced by 10%. As assumed when reading the creature's name, it was an undead and the orc had awakened. A little frightened, the boy realized that this was the last barrier between him and the legendary card. Seeing the creature's health bars, he noticed that it had 3 of them. Something truly impressive, completely abnormal. It made the monster have 30 times more health than a normal orc. The first attack executed by the monster was devastating, but the boy managed to dodge. As he gained distance, he felt comfortable enough to look back, recognizing that his enemy was extremely strong, but it was also excessively slow. And you began to wonder if its movement speed was inversely proportional to the size of its health. If that's the case, he was scared for no reason at all, since at that speed, it wouldn't be able to dodge those fireballs. Not to mention that he would have 2 seconds to execute his attacks from a completely safe distance, managing to hit the monster's face with great ease. Even though the attack was direct, the health removed from the creature wasn't that significant. Indeed, that was the dungeon boss, and the boy might end up taking a long time to defeat it. But that's the only difficulty he will face, because the creature's defeat is certain. After a long time, the place was destroyed. The wolf cub was completely exhausted. Our protagonist managed to win, receiving the titles of the one who does not retreat, Nerves of Steel, and Sharpshooter, in addition to receiving a rune. The girl was amazed that he managed to find the fragment of the nameless god and did it very quickly, but he had something to say. Before he could tell her, he received a skill book as a gift, but she said that the information might be too dense for him at his current stage. He tries to say that this is not the problem while storing the book in his things. Even though he likes quick progress, he would like to be heard. She was already aware of the player's question. He wants to know more about the last words the rotten orc had left. After the battle ended, the boy was analyzing what he had received. The creature's body rose, calling its slayer a worm, which almost made the boy have a heart attack. And the creature understood what he was searching for there. This is already the second monster that starts talking after being defeated, and our protagonist asked it to say something useful. And the monster asked if he really wishes to have the weapon that can put an end to myths. The woman simply told him to stay calm. Now she also knows that he is interested in this. She said she would tell him everything she knows about the subject, as long as he does her a favor. Asking the boy for his opinion, the system said that a quest had appeared. Sakalin's request requires the player to hunt the assassin orc, and the quest was immediately accepted. And he would receive the title of Almighty Class. This made him remember a few things. The mythical item really does exist. When the game's creator was asked about it, he gave a vague answer, saying that the possibility existed but never gave further details. That ambiguous answer lacked credibility for some. And after that interview, no player managed to find a mythical item, until eventually it became nothing more than a rumor among players. But if the public knew what he was just learned, it would cause a huge commotion, so he needs to be cautious not to put his family at risk. The impact in the real world would be enormous. He thinks about this while looking at the wolf cub. He asked the creature to hold on a little longer and decided he would finish this quest before thinking more about what he had just discovered. Inside his house, the boy holds his cell phone in his hands. He is reading some forums looking for information, learning effective strategies to achieve victory. The reward for winning is also good. There is also a reason why this creature is so hunted by players. It has become a trophy, a sign that the newbie who managed to defeat it has great potential. It's practically a prerequisite to be seen as a good player. Compared to the other monsters, the difficulty to defeat it is excessive, and now the boy has gathered a lot of information. Enough to know that he's not able to defeat it alone yet. Maybe he will have to find some allies to take it down. While he was deeply focused thinking about this, his brother approached, wanting to know why he was so concentrated. He said it was nothing, that he was just working. But it doesn't look like that, his brother said. Sensing that he might be worried, a protagonist told his brother not to worry because things are going very well with his work. He should smile more and worry less about him. Only then did the older brother reveal his biggest concern. He doesn't know if our protagonist will ever manage to get married. Standing up from the chair, the protagonist said that his brother is worrying too much. He should think about his own daughter. And indeed, things are going well in the game. If he sells the secret information and a few items, he'll have enough money to support himself for a few months. The problem is that the tasks are becoming increasingly overwhelming for just one person, and he needs to find a solution. After thinking about this, he told his brother that he was going out. There's no way he can hire players who are too new. That would be a waste of time. He imagines that he can win relying solely on luck. Returning to the game, a wolf cub jumps toward him full of joy. This made our protagonist very happy, realizing that Lucky had missed him. His name in the game is Midas, and he will soon become well known if he looks for a team to join. And he doesn't want the community to know his true identity. Not yet. All he has now is his loyal canine companion. Noticing that a question mark had appeared above the cub's head. Shortly after, a system window popped up as well. It was about to evolve after landing the final blow on 444 monsters, and it would learn new abilities. It's finally time for it to evolve, just like all divine beasts. What surprised the boy is that evolution isn't based on experience points. The people who taught that the requirement to evolve divine beasts was to hunt 5,000 monsters were all wrong. Realizing that it must be the approximate number of monsters needed for the final hit to happen based on probability. This is also very valuable information, something he will sell soon. Hugging the dog very affectionately, he said that is a big and fluffy Lucky Charm. He decided he would help it evolve since the cub is already able to defeat orcs, and it's going to get much stronger. And you'll make a lot of money with its unique reward ability. The two ran toward the forest while the boy said that Lucky is going to evolve. They won't be able to reach that number overnight, but they need to try to do what is possible, finding in the forest the first target of many. He would take the opportunity to also put into practice the skills he gained from Sakhalin. While gathering a fireball in his hand, he was thinking about the skill he gained after the dragon's dignity. Until now, he had been throwing his attacks carelessly. But maybe he will start taking this seriously from now on. The dragon's eye allows him to see the target's weak spot, causing critical damage. The protagonist is eager to understand the full extent of this skill. This game doesn't assist players with aiming, so accuracy is important, but in practice, you only need to reach the minimum. Since it doesn't matter which part of the monster is hit, as long as it is hit. But this concept no longer applies to the protagonist. He activated the dragon's eyes as well as the throw. His eyes were able to calculate the exact distance to the creature. The orc was 40 meters away from the player. If he hit the weak spot from the farthest possible distance, he would be able to maximize the accumulated damage from all his passive skills. And you managed to hit that creature from the maximum range of his reach, amplifying the damage. He also managed to hit a critical spot, receiving the title of one shot on the orc, also earning a rune. The boy was very excited that he managed to defeat the creature with a single attack. He really was getting stronger and learning how to use his own blessings. He wondered what his canine friend thought about this, and he saw the little creature jump a little anxiously, realizing that he had forgotten the initial purpose of this, to help the cub evolve. In the real world, the protagonist's friend remains worried, because Hyan seems very tired, and he must be working a lot. Approaching him, he asked if everything was okay. Our protagonist said that nothing was wrong. Continuing the conversation, he asked if his character had been in the stinky forest lately. There's a rumor going around the player community that the forest is starting to stink less and less. Our protagonist didn't know this was happening. This is definitely related to the fact that he defeated the secret boss of that place. He was impressed that the main scenario could alter the game world in this way. At this rate, other players might start suspecting that someone is causing these changes. He needs to defeat the assassin orc immediately. After thinking about all these things, he asked his friend if there are still people who play the game with the sense of smell activated, especially in the stinky forest, because that's weird people behavior. Back in the game, the little wolf cub runs quickly, executing a precise attack on the creature's neck. They finally managed to complete all the kills necessary for its evolution. The little cub's body began heating up a lot because of the divine powers it possesses. That was its evolution. The fur on its tail was white. Its paws had grown considerably, and our protagonist was very pleased with the result, because the little cub had transformed into a young wolf, which had received a new power. While the two friends were interacting, the system said that the player needed to choose the new power. He was very happy because that was the luckiest dog in the entire game. Once again, among the cards that appeared, there was one with a golden color. Our protagonist said that the dog's name shouldn't be Lucky, but rather Cheeky, because he can hardly believe he managed to receive that ability card. Now he should be able to defeat the assassin orc. At night in the forest, he came across Heinz's team. They were talking about some prospects for the year. A newbie had come there to hunt the assassin orc. As soon as he said that, the system notified everyone that the creature had appeared. There were already many players there, lining up to participate in the hunt, until one of them warned the others that someone was trying to defeat the creature completely alone, which sparked everyone's curiosity. Inside the forest, violence is underway. One of the rules of fighting in a team is that damage dealers should not attack until the tank has attracted the creature's attention. Our protagonist already has a fireball in his hands and ordered Lucky to attack now. What would happen in the game if there were a skill that draws the creature's attention in the middle of battle? That is exactly what the dog did. That skill makes the creature desire to fight the dog. A deadly duel of legendary ranking, the Divine Beast challenges its opponent to a fight that cannot be refused by the creature, something really beneficial in the current circumstance. With the creature distracted, the protagonist has a clear path to attack. The monster directed all its rage toward the dog, screaming furiously at it. The intensity of the sound scared the birds in the forest, and the aim of the dragon's eyes was already locked onto the creature's head. A fireball exploded upon contact with it. Because of the skill combination, the damage was greatly increased in addition to hitting a weak spot, causing critical damage. Our protagonist has good expectations. It won't take long to reach Phase 3. The players want to watch the solo attempt of this mysterious person. Many believe he will fail. Others think he may believe he has a chance but doubt he can do it. It's not possible to get past Phase 3 alone. Another fireball is flying toward the target. It hits the creature's head precisely. That monster lost much of its strength and started falling to the ground. Our protagonist warned the dog that Phase 3 had arrived. He needs to run and get away immediately. The higher a player's level, the more important it is to have a tank on the team, because damage dealers struggle with strong creatures. The monster's skin turned reddish, and it is much faster and more dangerous. If it's possible to distract the creature while attacking it, it wouldn't need a tank on the team. The monster tried to run after the dog, but ended up trapping one of its legs, and its head never stopped being targeted for even a second. Our protagonist spent his entire life throwing baseballs. He did it desperately, putting every fiber of his body into his throws, just to achieve that moment with perfection. The throw he executed was perfect, enough to end the life of that creature, receiving the title of Assassin Orc Hunter. In addition to the title, the one who can solo the Assassin Orc. He also managed to level up one more time, truly formidable rewards. Now he needed to run. Arriving in the city, he went straight to that woman's house. She was once again surprised by the speed with which the task was completed. She expected him to take longer. Not to mention that he doesn't seem to be injured. Putting his dog on the ground, he praised its performance in the mission a lot. If that was challenging for him, the woman said he doesn't need to know about the Almighty. But since he completed the quest, he should be rewarded anyway. And one of the rings on her hand started to glow, until it began flying through the air toward the protagonist, and he managed to catch it with one of his hands. That is Sakhalin's ring. It increases all stats by 20 points, increases attack by 5 points, and boosts health and mana by 25%. The item cannot be sold. The attributes are those of a very good item, leaving the boy impressed. He crouched down carefully to show the ring to his canine friend. The woman asked him to stop being melodramatic, saying they would now get to the main point. This made the boy pay more attention. After the gods began using the creations of the world to wage their conflicts, countless followers went to battle to defend the gods they worshipped, and some managed to achieve legendary reputations. But among them was someone who achieved what no one else was capable of. The one who created the myth of being undefeated, bringing great results to the god he worshipped and great fear to all his enemies. Even with the efforts of this hero, war did not find its end. That's when he finally discovered it doesn't matter how many battles you are able to win. It is completely impossible to stop the war of the gods. Thinking about these words, the protagonist understood what she meant. It is impossible to do this with just a legendary item. After coming to this conclusion, the heroes searched for something that could surpass the legends, something that would put an end once and for all to that war. This is the Almighty. The system said that our boy has acquired knowledge about the Almighty class, an omnipotent weapon capable of killing even a god. She wants to know if he wants to learn more about this story. With great enthusiasm in his eyes, he couldn't hide his genuine interest in learning everything. The woman said she would give him the same task once again. He needed to defeat 1,000 zombies in the cursed forest, and the system notified that a new quest had appeared. Confident, he believed he only needed to find the creature carrying the rare item, but that's not what the system indicated. And the boy realized that this time he would have to do a full job, defeating all 1,000 monsters. That number scared him, and he said he had a question for the woman. Mockingly, she asked if he didn't want to do that task. On the outside, he said yes, but on the inside, he was completely regretting it. Back in the real world, he was upset with what was happening in the game. After a few hours, he took a break to eat while thinking that this task was going to take a long time. His friend said that he had received a call while playing. Picking up his phone, he saw it was his older brother. Calling him back, he was hoping that nothing bad had happened. The one who answered was his niece, which made him quite anxious. The girl wanted to tell him that she had received an award. His brother continued the call, confirming that the girl had received a prize for something she had drawn and wanted to tell her uncle. Our protagonist is deeply happy with this news, imagining that his niece had been awarded at school, until he learned from his brother that this was actually a municipal award, and that now she is qualified to compete at the provincial level. This left our protagonist very impressed. telling his brother that they needed to celebrate this achievement. He asked him to tell the girl that tonight's dinner would be fried chicken. But this information left the child in a big dilemma, because she didn't know which sauce to choose to go with the fried chicken. This made the protagonist realize that it wasn't common for them to choose what to eat for dinner. He said that his niece shouldn't worry about that because they were going to order all the sauces. That brief phone call was the motivation he needed to defeat all 1,000 monsters. His friend was moved by the dedication he saw because he believed that the protagonist had his account suspended and had started again from zero. Receiving a notification on his phone, he saw it was a new video about the game. The next day, our boy returned to work a bit more. He greeted his friend, who was already sitting in an armchair. As he was a bit distracted, he responded a little anxiously. Our protagonist was curious about what he was watching on his phone at that hour of the morning, and he said that a recent video was among the trending topics. This increased the protagonist's interest in the subject even more. It was about a rich player who managed to defeat a powerful boss alone. Our protagonist vented, saying that the rich ruined this game and that it kills the experience. Only then did he realize it was about the assassin orc, and people were talking about him. This left him very scared. He had to watch that video too. The girl presenting the content was talking about the news, about the player who managed to defeat the assassin orc without the help of others, revealing that the game favors those who can pay. Through the video recording, they noticed that he used the divine beast as a tank, and some players don't agree that this counts as winning solo since he used the help of the divine beast. The views on the video keep increasing. Our protagonist tried to be as discreet as possible, but that wasn't the result he achieved. If he had known the news would be this popular, he would have provided the video to the internet himself. He started thinking about whether he should leak some of his content from now on. The protagonist's friend also agrees that the problem with the game is the rich, who can buy game-changing equipment. Our protagonist said that this player might be a good person and that wealth doesn't determine someone's character. But his friend reminded him that the protagonist used to say the rich should be hit by a truck or struck by lightning. Realizing his contradiction, the boy started sweating cold. With no way to continue that conversation, he said he was going to start playing and was heading to one of the capsules. The cursed forest is so dark that a single wrong move can leave the player surrounded by dangerous creatures, and our protagonist has his bow in hand. He fires his arrow in a place that many players chose to ignore. He managed to hit the monster's weak spot. He is hunting zombies. Because he has the dragon's eye, it's not that difficult, and by firing so many ice arrows, his skill is improving. So far, he has managed to defeat 74 creatures. He's a bit behind the goal he wanted to reach, but he keeps being delayed by the dog. The dog frequently gets distracted by the smells it senses in the place. The animal started staring at one of the trees there, but our protagonist wished it would ignore those things for a moment, going toward the herbs it had found, which are worth 20 coins. Once he found the item, he wouldn't miss the opportunity to collect it because he loves making money. The dog found something else in the forest, and judging by his canine friend's reaction, it doesn't seem like he just found an item. In the middle of a clearing, a person is lying on the ground. Lucky approached him. The man was very weakened. This is a character our protagonist had never encountered in the game before, and he asked if he was okay. A little disoriented, the bald man asked who our protagonist was. He had to think about what answer he would give him, until he said his name was Midas, and that he was an explorer from the city of Wigga. If that man was looking for a stolen or lost property, or if he needed a bodyguard to reach the next city, our protagonist would gladly take on that role, making himself available to help him with whatever he could, saying that he expects nothing in return, while thinking intensely about the money he could make. All those words left the bald man quite confused. He thanked the offer, said his name was Yoshi, and said he didn't want to be rude, but there was no one there to ask for help. An exclamation mark appeared above that character's well-lit forehead. He revealed that he needed 100 fragments from those cursed zombies. A quest appeared with a unique ranking, whose reward was a card book. The bald man wants to know if our player will help him, and while picking up the plant the dog found, our protagonist said yes. When the third best player in the game was asked what was the best way to gain experience, he said it was very simple. Just have unique and legendary quality items and skills of the same category, then defeat monsters at least 10 levels higher than the player. And do all this completely alone, which is almost exactly what our protagonist is putting into practice. He managed to level up one more time. After a while, he managed to defeat 200 creatures. He didn't imagine leveling up would be this easy. Between one kill and another, he always thanks his canine friend for all the help. He said he was going to rest a little now, which made the dog sad. He immediately picked him up in his arms to pet him, but the dog got distracted by something it sensed in that forest. The protagonist jokingly commented that he almost disobeyed his master Lucky. He ended up meeting a character named Jack, who asked to be found in the city to reward him, giving the boy a rare level quest. He knows that the Cursed Forest is not a very popular place among players, but he found it strange that he hadn't encountered any other players since it wasn't as harsh as the starting village. The Explorers Guild should have influence in that place too. Yet on the way there, he didn't meet anyone from that guild, which left him quite discouraged. The dog was already near him, barking happily. It was time to get back to work. In the city of Wigga, the character was impressed with the protagonist's achievement in managing to defeat all those zombies. Now he would give him the promised reward. In an alley, the boy put the dog down and said they would do all the options and collect all the rewards before leaving. That particular card seemed very useful. It increased the attack of all fire spells and reduced the casting time. And he wanted to know if they should use the unique card they received from Yoshi. Immediately opening the card book, a large wall of them formed in front of the boy. After several hours of playing, his capsule began to open. His friend said he played a lot that day, barely having time for breaks. But he was worried that he had stayed for 4 hours and 44 minutes because 4 is a very unlucky number in China, and asked if anything bad was happening. Our protagonist said he felt like he was going crazy and wanted a bit of space, because he was going crazy with happiness. The last time he played, he got the Ballista ability, which can be sold for 13,000 coins. As the name suggests, it increases magic attack as long as the caster doesn't move, reducing the spell's cooldown time. It can cause huge changes in combat just by staying still in the backline. This ability has great synergy with Dragon's Eye and Throw. He started receiving some private messages because of the video he had posted of the battle with the assassin orc. One company wants to establish a contract with him, and another wants the exclusive rights to the video, and these aren't even the only proposals. The companies are desperate to get something. Seeing an offer of just 100 coins for the video, our protagonist felt offended. Because you believe it was worth much more, only then did he realize it was actually 10,000 coins. The first thought that came to his mind was that this was nothing but a prank, but he started to analyze the content of that message better. It was from the Rising Star channel, which believes in quality instead of valuing quantity. They have excellent videos and very good publicity, managing to gain many subscribers in a short time. Their most important area currently is focused on rising newcomers. If he accepts this contract, he won't need to sell the Ballista. He decided that he would reply to them. Inside a company building, they were discussing whether it was worth buying that video. The company's president asked where the secretary had graduated from and learned it was from a famous university. He believes that the skills of the mysterious archmage who is streaming are not exceptional. Thinking that he achieved it through money, he must have spent a large sum to reach that level. This is the president of the Rising Star Company, Park Yeon-jun. What makes him curious is the desire to understand the reason that motivated someone to spend so much money. His employee wants to better understand that statement. If he had paid for a service to gain levels, he would have leveled up very quickly. Even so, that player does everything alone. That's what he would like to figure out if the secretary doesn't know how to answer either. To the president, the player does this because he wants attention. Someone so desperate for attention wouldn't reject an offer from them. Asking his employee how the player would react, he heard that the player would certainly accept the proposal. But he asked the secretary what else he would do, saying he would be willing to meet him for a meal and drinks. The closer they get, the higher the chances of the proposal working. Considering the amount of money he must have spent, this player must be a multimillionaire. 10,000 is nothing compared to the chance of getting close to someone like that. The secretary noticed that their email had been answered. The company's president is sure the player will present himself as someone very important from a big company. And the secretary said he was right. That made the president even more confident. Now he wanted to know what the reply said. The secretary said that their proposal is being very well analyzed. Hearing this left the president relieved, because he is eager for his company to absorb the potential of that prospect. Inside the forest, our protagonist attracts several creatures, aiming at their weak points. Without leaving the spot he is in, he used the Ballista skill, increasing the damage of his attacks. The first impact happened, and the applied damage was maximized to the limit, a result that left our protagonist very enthusiastic. He managed to eliminate all the creatures that were there, completing the mission in progress, returning once again to that woman's house. She wants to know what went through the boy's mind while he was defeating 1,000 monsters. He first told her that the stench from the stinky forest came from the creature he defeated, and that made him think about something. Maybe the cursed forest had always been under the influence of the nameless god. For reaching that conclusion, the woman praised his line of thinking. That pattern is a bit obvious, and the boy is expecting to receive a quest to defeat the monster that must be maintaining the curse on the forest. And she said that he must figure out why that place is cursed, making the boy immediately ask for the next reward. As soon as the system recognized the new quest, she asked him to go quickly. But our protagonist had some questions to ask. He told her that he worked really hard to defeat all the creatures. Even with that venting, she doesn't seem to care about the boy's exhaustion. Her reaction was so unusual that he even thought it might be a system error. Placing his hand on the doorknob, he said it was time to leave. Before he could leave, she said it was very clear that he was going to have difficulty, and she would give him a little help, which was inside that book. The boy managed to grab it with his hands, deeply thanking her for the gift he had received. His happiness was so great that it prevented the dog from howling at him. Eager to see the skill card, our boy was anxious for it to be good. Several cards appeared in front of him. He had received the double summon, allowing him to cast 2 enchantments at the same time. Several hours passed once again, and the boy's capsule opened. His friend quickly approached, saying he needed to hear the news. People are going crazy on the forum. The boy asked him what they were talking about. It's about a double summon card. It's been months since the last one was announced for sale, and one of those cards just appeared. Our protagonist imagines that someone besides him must have gotten it. Asking how much it's being listed for, he almost had a heart attack upon finding out it cost $60,000. After the game launched, it took a while for prices to stabilize because there were so many different items. Skill cards were difficult to evaluate because it was complicated to understand their value until someone tested them in practice. But there were a few exceptions to this, and double summoning is one of them. Our protagonist wished that what he received from the game could be sold. If that were possible, he would suffer a lot while deciding what to do. It didn't take long for him to see another email arrive. Inside the company, an employee asked if they should send it here. The new contract model for the videos of the mysterious Archmage. They offered almost 13,000 coins for the video where he defeats the sorcerer. Completely relaxed, the president has his doubts if this was really impossible. Faced with his disbelief, the secretary also agrees with this since it could indeed be impossible. But he believes he has figured out the protagonist's personality, predicting exactly how he will act. Certainly, he would not refuse that offer. Soon, he will spend almost 60,000 on items and skills, until it becomes a matter of time before they develop a relationship where both will want to spend on each other. The secretary asked why they offered almost $12,950 instead of $15,000. He doesn't want the boy to get the impression that he's worth more, so he sets such a specific number, assuming that our protagonist will think they are doing their best to pay what they can. All of these are techniques he learned in college. Back in the game world, our protagonist is wearing the orc outfit, activating passive effects. That was the set of equipment he always wanted to have, but it was too expensive. If anything happens, he can sell it in the future, so it's better than receiving skill cards. But he also bought other things. Thunder and Fire Spear, our protagonist never thought the day would come when he would spend money on this. This makes him quite emotional. No matter what happens this time, he and his canine friend need to be able to defeat the creature on their own. He spent all the money he had saved until now, because that email means he's being tested. Imagining that the company wants to know if it's worth investing in him, he is sure this won't be a one-time event. It's his opportunity to become a star. He needs to do this. He needs to be able to win alone no matter what happens. Inside the forest, other players start to hear sounds. It was our protagonist who had approached and asked if they belonged to the Explorers Guild. Those players soon realized that the dog was a divine beast, assuming that the person next to it must be the famous streamer. They asked if there was any problem, and our protagonist said there was no reason for that. He said he was only safe in that place because of guilds like the one they work for. The other player thought that our protagonist was looking down on them, and they had already been instructed by their superiors not to cause problems with this player as he could become important in the future. Saying that he was busy, he asked those players to accept those bottles. They were potions that relieved stress. Unfortunately, there's no coffee, and he brought them something very similar. They thought it could be expensive, but our player didn't want them to refuse the gift, saying he was very grateful to the guild. After observing the divine beast more closely, they recognized the identity of the Archmage streamer. The people watching that said he was being very polite to those men. So the rumors that he is close to the Explorers Guild must be true. That's why he levels up so quickly. Whoever messes with him will get a lot of trouble, since the Explorers Guild eliminates all their enemies. Our protagonist is aiming for this outcome. That's why he handed those potions in front of everyone. So it will seem like he's being protected by this guild. The cost of the potions is minimal compared to the results. But this won't last much more than a week, and he needs to complete the mission within that time. A loud scream is heard inside the forest. The tank of that team was quickly defeated, and some started to flee. A horde of zombies is advancing furiously. A person's hand started to glow, and they wouldn't allow this to happen. Soon after, a huge explosion happened. Among those creatures, there was one that led all the others. A powerful lightning bolt struck several creatures, and that was not the protagonist's only attack, as he threw a fire spear towards them, which pierced through a zombie's head in a fatal way. That really was worth the investment. He throws his attacks without much effort and still finishes the monsters. The system warned that he only has 10% mana left, and the boy realized he was spending his reserves too quickly. He took a potion to restore his mana, which was being drained very rapidly. That strategy uses magic power way too fast. At least he has the help of his canine friend Lucky, who keeps attacking next like there's no tomorrow. After all that training, he managed to reach level 30, which completely restored his mana, leaving the boy uncomfortable because he spent 3 coins on that potion. And once again, he can choose a card, identifying that among them there was a unique ranked card. A red card stood out among the others, and the boy doesn't think he needs more power to defeat the sorcerer. But he recognizes that it would be very good to receive one more attack, even if it's not necessary, because he is a very dedicated helper. The card in question is Strength, which besides increasing his physical attributes, also increases the range of his spells. For a moment, he was a little disappointed with that. What that ability offers is very good, and it would be even better if he could use it on his companion, because he doesn't know if the card would be well utilized by him. Only then did he notice that it increases the range of his attacks, which could end up being very good for his strategy. It didn't take long for him to choose that card. Elsewhere, a zombie is being attacked by a player, but that strike only made it even angrier. The warrior with the sword asked his team if that was the last monster. Their archer said there was nothing left in that area to hunt. After hearing that, the warrior wants to be sure since last time they almost died when surrounded by monsters. He was quickly reassured by the archer, who said he used his eagle eye ability to scan the area, and there's nothing within a 50-meter radius. And that zombie is the only thing left. An explosion happens behind the creature. They identified that attack as a fireball, and the warrior became worried because he thought there was nothing else there. Even scared, the archer said there isn't, at least not within the first 50 meters. In their team, no one uses fire attacks. This explanation is starting to make no sense, until they accepted that the attack came from an even greater distance. Our protagonist was the one who did that. His attack reached the mark of 80 meters, something truly impressive, since he wasn't expecting the ability to increase his range that much. The dog is not left behind and continues attacking the zombies. The animal was also benefited by the skill card. Maybe our protagonist needs to recalculate everything he has, since now he is capable of attacking monsters at a distance of 100 meters, depending on the dog's physical attack. He realized something quite interesting. Maybe defeating the sorcerer will be an easier task than he was imagining. That group of players started interrogating a mage they had found. They wanted to know if he was the one who had stolen that creature from them. The player said he didn't do anything and that all he was doing was hunting the creatures in the area he was in, and the archer told his companion to stop wasting his strength. But he was very upset with what had happened, since there is no one in that area capable of killing these monsters with just one attack. A little further away, they are saying that the Archmage streamer will try to defeat the sorcerer alone. The fame of our protagonist is starting to spread among the players who are already eager to witness his feats. Those two random players were very intrigued by the words they heard. Our protagonist started recording and began thinking about the words he was going to say. He introduced himself to the audience he has. While aiming at the head of one of the creatures, he was telling people what he was going to do that day, confirming to them that he would defeat the sorcerer of that forest alone. He also said it wouldn't be very fun if he just defeated the monster. So he proposed the following challenge. He would do all of this without taking a single hit. With his dual element attack spells, he started sending his attacks toward the creature, which was already being hit by him, unable to defend itself. One of its heads was already burning in flames. Our protagonist is quite pleased with the result of his actions. The creature's hand started to glow as it was being surrounded by energy. Using its power, it made other creatures rise from the ground as if it were a necromancer. The staff used by the creature was amplifying its power. That monster was prepared to cast some kind of spell. But the dog, addicted to biting necks, wouldn't allow that to happen, because it was satisfying its desire to tear jugulars with its jaws. The sorcerer proved to be strong, repelling an attack from the dog with one of its hands. Began to focus on the creature that was in front of its eyes. Who is happy with this is our protagonist, witnessing the dog's actions, who continues preventing that monster from summoning anything. He would take this opportunity to corner his target, destroying the creatures that had just been summoned. Those that are less dangerous have already been eliminated and used far enough from the target creature. Using the dragon's eye, he confirmed that the distance between them is 60 meters. He told his audience that from this point on, he would simulate a stationary cannon, since he was using throw and ballista while preparing to throw fire spells as if they were baseballs. It didn't take long for his attacks to start hitting that sorcerer, who once again began to burn with his flames. During the attack, the boy noticed something happening nearby. The player was lying on the ground scared, and that group that was hunting in the forest is hiding in the trees, afraid of being noticed. Their friend apologized because he was too impressed by what he saw and was advised by the others to hide as well. They believe that our protagonist hasn't noticed them, and since he is a heavy damage dealer, they are very scared. They want to take the opportunity to get the items received from defeating the sorcerer. The archer would be the one to land the final blow, and the sorcerer continues engaged in combat with the protagonist. Stating that the monster was already close to entering the third phase, he told the archer to pay attention because when it starts using zombie gathering, that will be their opportunity. This is the creature's most powerful technique, which will gather all the zombies in a large area. The monsters will attack those involved in combat, and at that moment, that group will attack the sorcerer. They noticed that the spell had been cast. Our protagonist also knows what that means. They had entered the third phase. He managed to deal even more damage than expected, so he reached the final phase very quickly. It would be good to extend it a little. He told his audience to exercise as well while thinking that those players are ready to steal his reward, and he's not going to make life easy for those thieves. He said he would show his followers the trump card he had kept hidden until now, his fifth magical technique. The archer believes they still haven't been noticed and is confident they will be able to execute the plan. But the warrior became worried about something. He saw our protagonist rushing toward the creature. Not understanding why he decided to reduce the distance of the fight, it's truly impressive that he chose to use an axe to finish the fight, driving his blade between the creature's two heads. If things keep going this way, those players won't be able to steal the rewards. Not to mention they can't understand how that Archmage manages to deal so much damage with a melee weapon. Finally, our protagonist managed to defeat the creature, receiving the title of Sorcerer Hunter for doing so. After catching his breath, he asked his audience what they thought about that, revealing that he had used physical fortification to finish the job, as did the members of the Explorers Guild who watched everything from the front row, leaving those players scared because if they get caught, they risk having to abandon the game. Now the archer understands why that player behaves so carefree. They immediately ran away from there because they didn't want any more problems. Our protagonist's bluff was incredibly effective. The scarecrows he had placed on the ground worked perfectly. Returning to the city, he immediately went to talk to the girl. She looked at him with a lot of disdain. Our protagonist was very out of breath, grateful that his plan had worked in the end, managing to defeat the creature completely alone. While celebrating his accomplishment, the joy he felt for himself kept growing. Only then did the girl ask if he had done what she asked, and confirmed with great joy. Showing her a small item, he said he believed that this was the reason the forest was cursed, and he handed her the cursed stone. The item was going toward the girl's hand. As soon as she touched it, the object's aura began to grow, but she quickly made all that energy dissipate, leaving our protagonist very intrigued. She closed her hand, crushing that stone, satisfied that the boy had discovered the truth. The curse's energy was now within that place. Gathering at a single point, it transformed into a kind of staff, which was handed to our protagonist. Of great magical power, it increases attack by 52, intelligence and magical power by 25 points, increases magical damage by 10%, and accelerates spell casting. Even though it seems like something simple, its attributes are really impressive. The girl said that the fragment was rejecting her mana and asked if the player understood what that meant. That fragment probably already has an owner. That is exactly what is happening. The object is still connected to its original owner. She needs to do something about this. Ordering the player to go to the Dorito mines and meet with the blacksmith Zuga, a new quest was proposed to him. In the real world, the exchange of messages between our protagonist and the agency continues. The company believes he wants results. The secretary is trying to understand better, and the company president is feeling tested. After watching the last video, he realized that the content is different from the previous one. The player is using other items and has more abilities. Now he is capable of using 2 spells at the same time. An ability like that was being auctioned not long ago, but it was withdrawn from the market. A sign that someone must have bought it for an even higher price. A secretary came to a conclusion. The Archmage bought it. This president is bizarre. He really believes that the protagonist spent more than 100,000 to buy it, and he continues negotiating with them, which makes him think about the true message hidden in what he had received from him, imagining that there must be something concealed when he said he was looking forward to seeing the positive results of the collaboration between them. The secretary thought it might be a subtle warning that in the future there would be no exchange between them. This made the president order his employee to redo the first video of our protagonist. To greatly improve the quality, use more resources, and add more sponsorships. They need to follow the temperament of this new client. Continuing the main quest, our boy went to the Dorito Mine, a hunting place for players above level 40. The monsters don't appear outside, but in dungeons inside the mines. Those who cannot find a team in this place would end up falling behind quickly. Eventually, those who couldn't keep up would be left behind. A very unfortunate outcome, but that region separated the good players from the best as if it were a test. Until now, our protagonist had always been on the side of those who are rejected. But his situation has completely changed. He hears a pickaxe working. His quest is to request the crafting of a compass using the cursed stone as material. That character is the dwarf called Zuga, and he asked what our player wanted to discuss with him. Our boy introduced himself as an adventurer sent by Sakhalin to that place. He needs to make the compass using that stone and heard that the dwarf would be able to perform this task. Knowing the woman, he imagined that our boy must have gone through some trouble, and indeed, that's what happened. The dwarf knows her personality and knows she must have made absurd requests whenever she had the chance, and our boy started to feel empathy for this character. He said that he went through complicated situations but believes that the girl must have her reasons. Hearing the boy's words, the dwarf was impressed with his character and asked him to look at the necklace he was carrying. It is made of spiritual metal, which can only be extracted from that region. That item reacts in the direction of its owner's mana. The boy asked if he needed to mine that material, but the dwarf said he could do it himself. This made our protagonist like him even more, until the dwarf asked the player to clear the dungeon. All the sympathy he had cultivated for him disappeared. Night finally fell upon them. Our boy is not happy with the task he had received. Cleaning tasks are far too complicated. He thought about taking the opportunity to record his entire experience to produce content. He asked if his dog was listening and saw an exclamation mark appear over his head. That immediately made him curious. He asked what the dog was trying to say. He said he would do everything for him while hugging his canine friend with all his strength. Before starting the work, he granted the dog physical fortification. After consuming some items, his strength, endurance, and speed had greatly increased. The boy hopes this is enough because his companion was almost ready to evolve once again. He needs to defeat 99 high-level creatures. While looking at the dog worried, he saw that the creature was radiant. He entered the cave with a fireball in his hand because he didn't want his friend to get hurt. It didn't take long for them to encounter some creatures. The dog immediately took care of eliminating them. The ease with which he did it was so great that it left our boy impressed. His dog was threatening and the creatures started to become terrified as they were being eliminated with great ease. Our protagonist realized he had worried for no reason. Now they can continue exploring that dungeon without major concerns, until they finally managed to meet the requirements for evolution. Lucky's body was overflowing with divine power. He was about to evolve once again, receiving a new power. The cards are in front of our protagonist, who needs to select what will happen. His eyes came across something very useful for him. Quick as lightning, which increases all of the dog's movement for 5 minutes. Lucky started howling while his body was coated in energy. Outside the dungeon, people started asking who this person is who doesn't stop hugging the divine beast. They started thinking he might be crying, but our protagonist is actually very happy. Because his canine friend defeated a monster in just 9 seconds, he is practically as fast as lightning. He started swearing loyalty only to that dog. His companion started getting agitated because he had sensed the scent of a secret dungeon. That was really interesting to them. The reward offered by it is generous. Still happy with his companion, he carried the dog in his arms into the dungeon, a scene that left other players intrigued. They started getting annoyed with the game because even a weirdo like him can have a divine beast. The system said that he had entered a secret dungeon inside the mine. At the advertising company, it's already been an hour since they published the video with updated editing. The president is thinking about the name chosen by our protagonist. After watching the video, he asked his secretary what the published reactions were. The view rate was going up really fast because it was being promoted on the game's video platform. He believes that the first video was uploaded to the cloud by the player himself. That made the secretary very thoughtful, imagining that their client used his own time and money to create rumors about himself. The president knows that no matter how big a person is, sometimes they are not well known. These words left the secretary confused, while the president explained that rumors are the easiest way to gain notoriety in the media. Being the case, a scenario similar to the first one will soon come upon them. As soon as he finished talking, another employee showed up. The president is eager to know what he has to say. They managed to catch the attention of a player named Asmo. This man is a prince from one of those oil-rich countries. His wealth is truly enormous, and he spent millions of dollars to obtain the Archmage class. Known as the man who spent the most in this game, he is also a hoarder of items. He also did streaming, where he used new items and abilities like it was an unboxing video. From the comment he left on the video, they realize there is an item in the game that not even he knows about. That is understandable since there are unknown things in that game, but that's not the most important part. What caught the president's attention was Asmo questioning the legitimacy of the item. Someone as important as him wouldn't leave a comment on that video without a purpose. Asmo is not a fool and has free time to avoid doing nothing. Certainly, someone asked him to do that. Maybe the request was for him to identify that new item, and that friend could be the Archmage streamer himself. Someone related to both of them. The president is assuming there is a connection between them, so they have nothing to lose in this business. Coming to the conclusion that some of his theories might be wrong, poor guy, he has no idea that he's been wrong about everything so far. The only thing he got right was noticing that our protagonist has potential that exceeds all the predictions he had made. He asked his secretary to send a response. They would change the profit distribution of all the videos. The company would receive only 40% of everything. The employee realized that with that division, they wouldn't make any profit, but the president is confident in the conditions he will propose, imagining that their client is going to prepare something that will shock the internet. After leaving his capsule, our protagonist started stretching his own body. He is almost finishing that dungeon. His friend asked if he was really leaving on time that day, and our boy said the guy should have helped him earlier. He apologized, saying he was late because he was watching a video. That is already quite popular among people, and our protagonist wants to know what it is, becoming very happy when he finds out it's a video of his own character. Wanting to know more about it, he heard from his friend that the video is about to surpass 1 million views, a truly impressive metric. On top of that, the player Asmo left a comment on that video, saying that he saw a completely unprecedented item, which left our boy terrified. The Goblin Staff was a reward he received after completing a dungeon. But in the current configuration of the game, only he could obtain something like that. Feeling quite sad, he thought he had ruined everything, slamming his hands against the bathroom wall and scaring a person who was working nearby. He left a clue about the main storyline. Now he wants to know why someone as important as Asmo got interested in the video. He imagined that someone might have informed him about it, and that they must already know what item that is, because there are people still searching for the main storyline. Until our protagonist remembered something. He is sure that Channel is going to sign a contract with him, and he had already received a response from them, becoming impressed to find out he would receive 60% of the profits. That is simply impressive. Nobody knows about the main storyline yet, and even if they did, they wouldn't be able to catch up to our protagonist. He decided that he would keep trying. The stage is already set for his action, so he needs to deliver results. They managed to find the boss of that secret dungeon, a level 42 creature. If our protagonist were a normal player, he would have had a lot of difficulty in that fight. The creature uses holes to move around, making its attacks hard to predict. At least that's what would happen to an ordinary player. This does not apply to our protagonist, who can perfectly identify which hole it will come out of, making it just a matter of patiently waiting for the creature to appear from the hole. As soon as he was sure where it would come out, he fired his arrows toward the creature, defeating the dungeon boss and receiving titles as a reward. Now he could receive the dungeon's secret card. Several cards appeared in front of our protagonist, who started looking through those abilities. There was something interesting there: the lightning shield. An enemy that touches it would be paralyzed, and the boy doesn't believe he needs more elements, so the lightning shield would be interesting for his canine friend, because it would be a great combination with the attributes he already has. This made our protagonist thoughtful, imagining he should focus on strengthening the dog. So he began observing the cards that would best serve his friend. There is one called Impetus. If he had that, you could try to execute a speedrun for his audience from that point forward. Impetus summons a fairy that increases the target's movement speed, something useful for both defense and offense, besides being very expensive. After thinking about it, our player left the game, but quickly returned to the dungeon. He confirmed the price of that ability. It costs 6,000 coins, but he decided to buy it anyway. That costs several months of his living standard, but he sees the card as an investment, because it would be very useful from that point on. Now they could do speedruns inside the game. They found an easy dungeon to complete. It's the type of standard dungeon that appears in that mine. Using a simple analogy, those dungeons are the equivalent of 100-meter sprint races in athletics. That's why this is the preferred place for speedrun practice among players. The fastest dungeon completion time there was 4 minutes and 11 seconds, achieved by the player Kojiro, who has the legendary Sword Emperor class. This record was set many years ago and remains unbeaten. Our protagonist thinks it's impossible to surpass the historical record, but is confident that he can get very close. He used his fortification on the dog, as well as the impetus he had bought, giving him items that boosted his attributes. His companion became very powerful, and our protagonist started recording, politely introducing himself to his audience. He said that on this occasion, he would attempt a speedrun in the dungeon that appeared in the mine. But there was one key difference. His canine companion would do everything alone, something that hadn't been attempted yet. Excited for his first try, he asked the dog to start. The muscle-filled wolf moves quickly. The creatures inside the dungeon watch in fear, while being annihilated one after another. There is nothing they can do against that threat, since they get paralyzed as soon as they touch him. Our protagonist noticed that the pace of progress was very satisfying, until an aggressive creature appeared near him, but its attack was unable to hit him. He told the creature that he wasn't going to attack today and wasn't interested in the common items it had to offer. Even though he's working alone, Lucky is doing an excellent job. He has already become a specialist in biting necks. There is nothing that can stop him inside that dungeon. His companion's speed is much greater than he expected. Maybe they can break the historical record. As soon as he thought that, the system announced that the dungeon had been cleared. For a moment, this news left him very thoughtful. He confirmed the information when he saw his friends celebrating while howling. The lightning effect hadn't worn off yet, and he knows that it lasts 5 minutes. Little by little, our protagonist's understanding is starting to piece everything together. In the real world, our boy is quite thoughtful. One of his friends had approached him because he was worried about the boy. He smelled the traditional medicine and knew that our protagonist hasn't been feeling well lately. He advised him to take better care of his health because he can't afford to get sick, since he needs to help his own family. Our protagonist probably didn't even pay attention to that because his heart is racing. He didn't expect to break that record, and to make things worse, he managed to record the entire experience. He thought he was lucky because there were few monsters in that place, and wonders what kind of reaction the Rising Star channel will have when they receive this video. The president remains quite worried, even though the number of subscribers is rising. He told his employee that the way they throw the bait into the lake is very important, but the employee still doesn't understand why the profit split is happening that way. His president said it was just bait. They don't want the client to feel like a fish, and he hopes he wasn't offended. But the secretary said they had already received a response. The president was thrilled that he had taken the bait. That message had 2 recordings, the first one they had already requested, and now the second one. It was something that left them completely speechless. Our protagonist was getting out of his capsule. Once outside, he started stretching his body as usual. Noticing that there were no other players in that place, he figured everyone was at the lounge. But he still didn't understand why everyone was looking at their phones. He soon realized they were watching the video he had recorded. The content had already been posted on the Rising Star channel. His friend came running to him to share the news. The latest video of the Archmage is a hit. Our boy asked if Asmo had made another comment or something like that. And that's exactly what happened. For a moment, our protagonist imagined that this wouldn't be possible. But that's exactly what happened. Asmo noticed that the player had a unique ring. The protagonist immediately became worried because that's Sakhalin's ring that's on his hand. Putting his hands on his head, he started wondering if this is really real, because he has the feeling that Asmo doesn't stop watching everything he does. For sure, he must not be the only player observing the protagonist's movements. Soon, the number of people paying attention to him will increase a lot. Imagining that this could lead to dangerous situations within the game. Standing still in one place is quite dangerous. He needs to leave the mines as quickly as possible. He asked his friend to prepare the capsule, but he's worried about our protagonist, who still hasn't eaten. The boy said he's feeling fine, he just needs to eat some sweets. But the snacks were gone. Only some candy was left. which he kindly offered to his friend. But our protagonist doesn't like that kind of thing and suggested that it should be thrown away. But his friend likes it because of a romance novel he had read, and our protagonist decided not to be stubborn. It's better than eating nothing. Entering the game once again, the dwarf was already waiting for his arrival, congratulating the player for what he had done. For clearing the mine, the dwarf managed to gather the necessary material, and our player is relieved that he didn't need to mine anything. Showing him the necklace, the dwarf said he had completed his task. All the boy needs to do now is use the item. He needs to be quick and return to Sakhalin. But that wasn't necessary because the woman appeared before them, leaving our protagonist very impressed. She wants to know why Zuba called her there. The dwarf said that the necklace had been completed and that it was necessary for her to carry out her part of the task. The girl put her hand inside a dimensional portal, pulling from it the small cursed stone. Handing the item to the dwarf, she asked him not to do anything stupid, but he reminded her that they had made a soul pact for this kind of thing. The girl asked him to stop talking about that kind of nonsense. Our protagonist was confused because he couldn't tell whether they were close or not. Maybe those characters are in a situation where collaboration is mandatory. The game's main storyline is about finding the Almighty Class, an item capable of destroying a god. A stone was placed inside the pendant of the necklace, which began to levitate in the dwarf's hands. He immediately grabbed the necklace so it wouldn't go flying around. Our protagonist was surprised to realize that the item was pointing toward him. But those other two characters understood that, in fact, the item was pointing north. The necklace was finally delivered to the boy. He leveled up twice for accomplishing this, feeling impressed. Now he needed to claim his rewards, but he told the system that he would do it another time. His heart is not being spared in these experiences. He asked the dwarf why he had received the cursed necklace. The system says that the necklace carries the fragment of a cursed being, increasing all attributes by 50 points, as well as mana recovery speed, attack speed, and casting speed. That item is truly impressive. The woman told him to go in the direction the necklace points and find out what is in that place. No matter what happens along the way, a new quest has been received. He needs to go to the northern swamps and discover what is in that place. He will receive a legendary skill as a reward. This reward left him speechless. He told the girl that he would complete this quest no matter what happens, while his heart races uncontrollably. To calm himself, he hugged his canine companion, who was very helpful at times like this. Only then did he remember that he still had cards to receive, since he had leveled up twice. Among that card game, two stood out. These would be the ones chosen by our protagonist. The first is the Guardian skill, which made our player very happy. The employees are completely exhausted, but they managed to finish editing the video. The company president is quite pleased. He is eager to see the final product. The recording of that speedrun was happening now, listening to his client say that the dog would do it alone. Not even the player who set that record must have imagined it would be broken by a dog. The president can barely conceive how many views this video could get. His secretary suggests that it will surpass 2 million. Since the historical record was broken by a dog, this will certainly spark a huge discussion. And it was very well done despite the speed. The exhausted worker assures that the product is very well made, even though it was done in just one day. It reached the part where our protagonist was talking about the items he used last time, since some people were questioning where he had gotten them. The company president believes that the video will surpass the 10 million mark. His confidence in this is overwhelming, leaving his employees impressed. Guardian is a skill that makes a monster the player has hunted start obeying them. It was restricted to the Archmage class and was one of Asmo's recorded moves. Our protagonist never imagined he would receive this card. Practically speaking, it falls far behind other things, because it is necessary for him to have a deep understanding of the hunted monster. If the level difference is too big, he cannot use the skill. It is also necessary that he has defeated at least 100 of those creatures, and since the most powerful creatures are limited in number, it is almost impossible to turn them into a guardian. Asmo became popular with this skill because it allows the creature to use the player's items, even legendary quality ones. This way, Asmo equipped the creature with items that regular users could only dream of owning one day. Our protagonist is thinking of getting a creature that can serve as a tank, allowing his dog to focus more on attacking. His first option was to buy a golem to fulfill this need, but it would be too expensive to buy something like that. Now he needs to plan his way out of that place. Using momentum and strength, he called Lucky to accompany him. At full speed, they easily exited the dungeon. Our protagonist is being watched. These people already know he is outside. They want to know who this player is since they are being paid to monitor him. They thought it was exaggerated that 3 were hired to act against that mage. One of them said he doesn't know what goes on in his employer's head, but as long as he gets paid, he'll complete the mission. His partner agreed with that, acknowledging that it's better if the task is easy. They soon realized the target was running. The movement was so sudden that they thought they had been discovered. But it doesn't matter if that really happened since he is just a mage. They began to wonder whether they should chase him immediately or take their time with the task. The conversation was interrupted because one of them was very scared, saying they were completely screwed. Our protagonist noticed their approach. That task had become very difficult for these mysterious players, because the target in question has an abnormal speed. Our protagonist asked his canine companion to stop running as well. The dog obeyed his master. The boy knows that his pursuers will not be able to catch up with them at this pace. After all, he is carrying a necklace that grants several benefits. As long as he has it, he can worry less and less about his pursuers, as he will be able to escape any situation. Soon the dog's video will be on the internet. Playing with the animal, he said that the video would reach 10 million views and Lucky would buy new equipment for his master. Despite the jokes, he is very grateful for the dog's company. Now they need to head back toward the swamps. Another video of our protagonist has been uploaded to the internet. It is the speedrun performed by his dog. Some people who haven't even watched the video are already questioning the statement in the title, but it was as real as it could possibly seem. The wolf had indeed completed the dungeon alone, breaking the record set several years ago. The people who watched it were divided. Those who weren't impressed were left wondering if it was even real. Now the legendary swordsman had become worse than a dog. Everywhere, people are talking about what happened. That divine beast is exceptional. Since the video is 5 minutes long, some people want to know what the ending is about. It was our protagonist talking about the items he used in the previous video. Without giving much more information about them, he stated that he has something else exclusive. Showing a simple stick, he asked if anyone knows what it is because he was going to explain everything to his audience. Osmo saw yet another item he didn't recognize and is already eager to hear the explanation. Making a generous donation to our protagonist of 10,000 coins. My God, the life of the rich is really something. People can't stop talking about the latest video from our protagonist. They also didn't expect him to have responded to Osmo about that. Not to mention that once again an unknown item to Osmo was shown to everyone. Some started to think that these players worked together. It was so unusual that it seemed more likely to be staged. Our protagonist is listening to all these rumors. His friend approached him and asked if the guy agreed with it. But as soon as he got closer, he realized the protagonist wouldn't stop trembling. He said he was having a bit of a stomachache. His friend feels sympathetic since he knows how hard his situation is and even thought that our protagonist might be jealous of the Archmage's sudden success. Since he wouldn't be able to make that much money with mining, the others who also knew the protagonist noticed the strange mood in the air. The truth is the guy is trying to hide his happiness because he had become a money printing machine. Going to the bathroom to hide, it was the most pleasant moment of his life, the moment to spend. It's time for him to start investing in the production of his videos. If he were to follow his original plan, he would buy the skill to summon golems. But since he has the Guardian skill, that is no longer an urgent need. So now he has a free and open path to buy anything. There are so many possibilities that he can't even decide. Checking the price of the skill to summon golems, he saw that it costs more than 11,000 coins, but it was cheaper than usual, deciding that he would buy it anyway. Unfortunately, his transaction wasn't completed, because someone else had bought it before him. Trying to console himself, he acknowledged that it wasn't an urgent item for his progress. Inside the company, the employees said that things were happening as expected, but noticed that the president didn't seem happy. He then said that things were going to get complicated from now on. His employee asked if the boss was thinking about something again. He asked his employee what they had done for the Archmage so far. The man replied that they edited the video and uploaded it to the channel, in addition to all the associated publicity. Knowing this, the president stated that they are not the only ones capable of doing this job. Their client is already interacting with Osmo, and they are just small contractors in this situation who could be replaced. To retain that big client, I need to show him a bit of sincerity. It's time to reveal to him the greatest trump card I learned in college. Even his employee was curious about that statement. With a smile on his face, the president revealed that it's time to use the power of bribery. Meanwhile, our protagonist is in the swamps, a hunting ground for players above level 50. That terrain is quite problematic for movement. Some players are complaining about the excess water and humidity. It would be better if they were in the cursed forest. While complaining, a monster approaches through the water. The slow effect also applies to these creatures, and from the depths of the water, something is revealed. A huge monster stands before our boy. Because of the slowness, the scenario is perfect for an Archmage to attack. Our protagonist has his fireball prepared to be thrown, sending it toward the face of that poor creature, which was eliminated with a single blow. Since the monsters are slow, it is very easy to take them down. The creature's body fell near him, making the boy startled. Because he doesn't want to get dirty, since his equipment is completely new and expensive. Lucky is also in that swamp and is very tired. The boy tried to cheer up his companion, saying that as soon as they finish the quest, they will leave that place. Even if he has to defeat 1,000 monsters, he will do it with a smile on his face. After walking for a long time, he found a large structure in the swamp. Those branches were hiding a secret entrance, and the boy began to wonder if this was the right place. He extended his hand to touch it, discovering through the system that it was the Lizardman's Nest, part of the main scenario, and inside there are nearly 2,000 creatures. The young man was already worried about the number of creatures he would have to defeat. As soon as he found that out, he became quite discouraged, because taking down all those creatures would be way too much work. The dungeon was made to be cleared in a group, and the boy realized he needed to increase his strength. It's time to get a guardian. Fortunately, they had already defeated 100 lizardmen, so now he can use one of them as a guardian. This is his first time trying to use this skill. Using his staff, he summoned the first guardian. The creature's body was glowing on the ground, and it stood up through magical power. observing our protagonist with great determination. Bowing before him, it showed a lot of respect, but there was something quite curious about it. Above the creature's head, a question mark appeared. Our protagonist was surprised by the possible meaning of that, realizing that guardians also have secret quests to complete. A manifestation of loyalty, it would level up to 8 if the creature protected its master for 33 minutes, which would increase its compatibility and allow it to speak with its master. Our protagonist never imagined that guardians had something like that, and he began thinking about this situation, putting his creature to fight immediately. It was fighting against another lizardman, proving to be far superior, defeating the enemy easily. Using magic as reinforcement, his guardian takes 3 minutes and 33 seconds to defeat an enemy. He wants to find out how powerful the creature will become when its loyalty increases. He asked the creature to focus on defense next time and not attack. Moving its sword in front of its face, it was as if it was saying it would obey. Since the goal is to make its loyalty increase, he needs to keep the fight going for all that time without defeating his enemy. It would be completely impossible to discover this condition if he played in the traditional way. Even for Asma, who can learn skills from all elements, having a guardian makes no difference. Our protagonist thought that he must be the first person to discover this secret condition. The system notified that his guardian protected him for 33 minutes. Its loyalty increased and it learned a new skill. Our boy allowed the creature to defeat its opponent. Its eyes began to shine intensely. It said it would do this for the honor of its master, striking its enemy with precise blows. With the creature weakened, it prepared a finishing shot that hit the monster in the chest. The boy is quite impressed that the creature gained a new skill and is able to speak. All of this changed because of its loyalty. The final blow had been delivered. He realized that the guardian reduced the combat time by almost 40 seconds. The creature asked to be given a name, promising that it would do its best to be worthy of it. And the boy liked the possibility of naming his creature. He said that the lizardman would be called Gold from now on. He used logic related to the letters used in Korean to write the word guardian. The creature is ecstatic for receiving such a splendid name, saying it is too noble for him. Now it is ready to receive new orders, because it would prove that it is better than that unworthy beast. These words left Lucky quite perplexed, while the boy is impressed by the depth of the conversation. He began to wonder if he could give more detailed and complex orders as loyalty increased, but Lucky didn't like what he heard. Realizing that the guardian's skill is better than he imagined, he saw the two creatures start to argue. He came to the conclusion that the skill must indeed be very good, since its category is legendary. Reflecting on this, he arrived at an interesting conclusion. He doesn't know if he should use that creature as his tank, since Gold is a good damage dealer. A team with 3 damage dealers is already a formidable presence on the battlefield. If he had the skill to summon golems, it would be even better. He could clear the creatures from the nest in less than 5 hours. Now he regrets not having bought that skill. Finally, the boy is at home and his niece asked him to wake up because it's already time for breakfast. But he is very exhausted since he played until late the previous day. The girl said that her father would scold him if he didn't get up, saying he would get out of bed soon. His phone started ringing. He wondered who was trying to contact him so early that day. Reading the notification, he saw that the company that edits his videos gifted him the golem summoning skill. In a hurry, he rushed out of the house, not even having time to eat his meal. He told his niece that it was an urgent matter and that they would have fried chicken for dinner that night. Owen is saying that they should send assassins after the famous Archmage. That's exactly what she said to her supporters. Things have been getting clearer since the last video. He must have insider information. The guy asked if she came to that conclusion because of the unique items he possesses, since there's no guarantee they'll get the items if they defeat him. The woman said it isn't necessary to get them that way. They need to confirm whether this player has clues that lead to the main storyline. Because if he has access to that, they need to stop him for as long as they can, since there's nothing to lose even if they cause a huge commotion. But the man isn't sure if there's any player who would agree to do this, because they imagine this player is putting a lot of money into the game. Some say he is conspiring with Asmo. The woman said to set a bounty of 10,000 coins. She knows a user who would do this without hesitation, the sniper from the 7 Stars Alliance. He has an alternate character who is equally powerful. Then the man said he would send the notification to him and talk to the woman as soon as he got a response. She asked him to add one more piece of information, that this is a request from the manager of the Abyss Guild, a request from Emma herself. There's no hiding it, our protagonist was deeply grateful for that gift. Now he can summon his own golem, being able to summon a solid wall after defending the player from almost 4,000 attacks and auto-sacrifice after protecting against 1,001 boss attacks. He would never have expected to receive something from the company that edits his videos. His gratitude reached the stars and he promised to bow in the direction of the studio every day. He decided that he would exceed their expectations to continue receiving support. He thought he might be able to defeat the boss crocodile that lives in that swamp all by himself, and to increase the difficulty, he would do it as quickly as possible. It's not enough for him to just be better than other players. But before putting that into practice, he needs to finish clearing the lizardman's nest. The golem is already working hard. There are only 3 creatures left to completely clear that place. His guardian is also very engaged. Thanks to the secret quests, our protagonist's stats increase very quickly, and he is brutally strong for a mage. now that the weaker enemies no longer focus on him. He can stand still and hit them from a safe distance, sending a fireball toward a lizard man that was 100 meters away, hitting the creature with great precision. After clearing that place, he is confident that defeating the boss crocodile won't be a difficult task. With his work completed, his mastery with fireballs had increased. It took him less than 8 hours to do everything. Gold has a complaint to share, saying that the rude dog kept stealing his kills. Those two fighting seemed like two little kids, and the protagonist's necklace started reacting. It was pointing toward a specific direction. While the creatures kept arguing, the boy looked toward this new direction. There was an altar nearby, and on it, a mysterious object. It didn't take long for the boy and his team to head in that direction. The system saw a mysterious egg. It couldn't gather much information, only reporting that it was a dragon egg and that the power of the nameless god is needed to hatch it. A dragon egg is truly an impressive item. The boy even thought it might be a new type of divine beast. Completing this task became a priority. Since the reward is a legendary card, he told his companions that they would return to Wiga City. About to cross the bridge, the people spying on our protagonist are waiting for him. Their weapons are already prepared to reach him. That assassin knows that players eventually have to return to the city. And to get to Wiga, he necessarily needs to pass through this route. Looking more closely at that group, he identified a guardian and a divine beast. Now he understands why the bounty is set at 100,000 coins. His bow is a legendary item. Once it hits the target, subsequent attacks will chase it. He sighed calmly so his hands wouldn't tremble, releasing the arrow toward his target, believing he would finish everything very quickly. Lucky sensed the approaching attack. As he moved, the guardian prepared the shield for defense, managing to prevent his master from being hit. Our protagonist knows exactly what's happening now. A normal player would have panicked, as not knowing where the attack came from is truly concerning. But the boy already knew the assassin would approach him. He left an opening on purpose so that a surprise attack would happen, and he ordered Gold to advance. He's sure he is being underestimated by his attacker because they are inside the swamp, but he's going to show that the terrain is not an obstacle to using all his skills. The archer became frustrated, realizing his target was very well prepared. He needs to restart his approach without losing his composure. The slowness caused by the swamp will prevent his target from approaching him effectively. The distance between them is approximately 120 meters. He won't be able to attack. While aiming his bow, the assassin saw a fireball approaching. It hit him in the face, causing critical damage. That made him unable to see for a short period of time, and the assassin understood he had been hit in the face, becoming immediately concerned with the consequences of his action. Looking back toward the direction where his target was, he realized he had lost sight of him. He understood he needed to flee before the ambush was turned against him. As soon as he decided to put his new plan into practice, he came across an obstacle. There were threatening eyes hidden among the bushes. Identifying the creature, then trying to understand how it got there in such a short time. The time he had to come to this conclusion was scarce. His thoughts were soon interrupted when he received another critical hit. Our protagonist is not having any difficulty hitting that assassin. With only 20% of his total health, he felt it should be impossible for him to take that much damage. The wolf is desperate to put his skills into practice, eager to bite necks, managing to bite that sneaky assassin. With his enemy properly captured, our protagonist wants to confirm his identity, but he would make sure to crush him so that he wouldn't try this again. As he approached him, he was quite surprised. The username was Rael. It didn't take long for him to associate that identity with the knowledge he already had. It's the alternate character of a famous player who has great skill as a sniper. If he had been careless, he would have had major problems and could become, after this, an enemy of a major guild. Definitely, this archer is the alternate character of a famous player. In his previous account, our protagonist had already hunted alongside him. Now he's trying to understand why someone so famous was trying to take him down. Immediately realizing what he should do, he cannot finish off this player because he would risk making powerful enemies. Ordering Lucky to immediately release that person. Gold believed that his master gave that order so that he himself could have the chance to finish the assassin, but our boy scolded him. Even showing compassion, he couldn't be too permissive after what happened. He asked if the archer was indeed a member of that great guild, the Seven Stars Alliance. Pretending to be clueless, the assassin tried to reach for an arrow, but our protagonist said he already knows the whole truth, and that his real name is Rael. Things have just become very problematic. He didn't expect that by trying to keep his identity a secret, he would attract the attention of the drunken whale. The archer realized that his target knew the leader of his guild and became a little hesitant. Diane is the leader of the Seven Stars Alliance. He has a personal dignity far superior to that of the average player, but he quickly gained the nickname of Drunken Whale for slightly obvious reasons. Showing his frustration, he said that even though he had revealed his true identity, he's being attacked by an alternate character. He said he wouldn't die and be unable to play for 80 hours. The archer realized he was in big trouble because his target knows the leader of his guild. Our protagonist asked if he usually accepts money to take down other players, as that is against the guild's rules. Faced with the archer's silence, the boy asked if he wasn't going to say anything. The assassin realized that if this information leaks, he will be in serious trouble. Kneeling before the boy, he apologized for his actions. Trying to intimidate him, our protagonist asked how they could solve this. and the assassin knows that if his actions become public, he will be cancelled. Our protagonist asked if it would be a problem if he didn't complete that mission, and the archer nodded that it wouldn't. Getting that answer, our boy sent for them to ignore what happened. These words left the assassin quite confused, until our protagonist said that he also doesn't want to cause problems with the Seven Stars Alliance. He said he was using that alternate character for very specific purposes, and that he wasn't inside that swamp leveling up just for fun. Without giving further explanations, he said that the assassin would report that the target managed to escape, and he won't tell anyone who he met in that place. The assassin was quite relieved with that possibility. However, he would still have to hand something over for having his life spared. After all, he needs to leave there with the feeling that he can't mess with our protagonist. And he asked once again for something so they could forget what happened. The other option is to finish him off right there and collect the items he's carrying, a scenario that his guardian is eager to see happen. The archer asked if he was really going to just ignore what happened. Our protagonist gave his word that he wouldn't go back on it. Then the assassin reflected for a few moments, materializing the bow he was carrying in one of his hands, saying the boy could keep it, asking for forgiveness for his actions. Gold said he learned a lot from his master's generous benevolence. The truth is that our protagonist could barely stand, and as soon as that interaction was over, he collapsed to the ground. He is very relieved that his bluff worked. The guardian and the wolf started scanning the area, thinking someone might have attacked the master. Our protagonist was lucky to know the rumors about the leader of the Seven Stars Alliance, or he wouldn't have been able to fool that man. As a result of this, he now possesses a very rare item. From the Wigga series, it has the best performance. Its value is at least 40,000 coins. Our player immediately thought about selling it, but he realized he is no longer desperate for money and could use that bow for a while. It didn't take long for him to place an arrow on the weapon. While pulling the bow, he thought it wasn't common for mages to use that kind of weapon, but things are different with that artifact in particular. Our player managed to place a fireball at the tip of the arrow. If the first attack hits the target, the following attacks will automatically chase it. Switching between the staff and the bow is going to be something tedious in practice, so he used his telekinesis on the object, opening his inventory right after. Grabbing the Sakhalin staff from there, he began analyzing those two items very carefully, thinking it could make his life easier by switching between them through telekinesis. Back in the city, people are saying the wolf was lucky to break the player's record alone. People are recognizing Lucky on the streets, so the person next to him can only be the famous Archmage. For some, it's the first time they are seeing our protagonist, and they can't understand why this player is surrounded by soldiers. While observing our protagonist, they started wondering if those are members of his party, but at least the people are characters from the game. And those soldiers are escorting the player inside the city. Feeling that he is being watched, our boy becomes increasingly nervous. As soon as he got there, the soldiers said the city leader wishes to speak with him. The boy doesn't know if this is part of the main storyline. Since things reached this point, he would act according to the situation because he must be the first person to be escorted by soldiers. He's already very curious to learn about the rumors spreading about him. It's time to enter that great palace. He and his companions are already inside. Someone was already waiting for his arrival. A man was introducing himself. His name is Wigga, and he is the governor of that place. Beside him stands Sakhalin. Greeting the boy, he said he had heard a lot about him. The girl asked if he brought the item this time. While opening his inventory, he replied positively to her. Taking the dragon egg in his hands, the amulet kept reacting to it, making the girl think deeply. Showing a confused expression, she was amazed that our protagonist managed to do that, handing him a legendary card. In this way, our player handed the dragon egg over to her, but the old man asked him to wait a little. Sakhalin asked if there was any problem with that. The old man made a point of saying there was nothing wrong, which made the girl upset because she didn't like the intervention, and the old man said there was no problem at all, as he had already mentioned. The man known by the name Midas brought the item they had been searching for. The girl confirms that this is exactly what happened. Then said the old man, there is no reason to send this individual full of potential to look for someone else. In fact, it is a relief that someone so qualified appeared at the right time, saying to our protagonist that he greatly admires the skills he possesses. That's why he would like him to be in charge of continuing the investigation regarding this dragon egg. This made our protagonist realize what was happening. Most likely, Sakhalin wanted to keep the investigation for herself. The old man, on the other hand, would like the player to be in charge of this task. There must be some kind of interaction between the two, and the boy said that if such responsibility were entrusted to him, he wouldn't disappoint anyone. A response that made the old man very happy, but he said that Sakhalin still has doubts about his competence. The girl cannot hide that this is indeed what's happening. It would be necessary for him to prove that he is capable of protecting the egg. She asked if the player came from the swamp. He should defeat the boss of that place and then return. Another quest had appeared. Now the boy understood that he should defeat the boss crocodile. Since he was already planning to do that anyway, it's not a problem. His reward for this will be receiving the Wigga staff, something quite interesting for him. Wigga's white staff is a formidable item. Looking at the boy, the old man asked if he would be capable of completing this task. With great determination, he replied that he would do it gladly. Before leaving that place, he opened the book that contained the cards. The As soon as they positioned themselves in front of him, the boy hoped something related to mana regeneration would appear, because that would make his tasks much easier. And it happened as he wished: draconic mana. He will be able to absorb mana from the environment, which would greatly increase his ability to regenerate it. In front of that skill, he couldn't hide his joy. Gold praised his master's decision, realizing that this blessing arrived at a timely moment. Lucky even seemed to agree with that, which immediately made our player curious. Even more when he noticed that the wolf was barking at another card, Dragon Fever, which accelerates casting speed and mana consumption for a short period. Our boy knows that card alone is worth more than 1 million. It's so famous that it has another name among the players. It has never been traded between players. Its fame is based on Asmo's desire to own it, offering 1 million to anyone who brought it to him. No one knows how he got that card, but as soon as he started using it, this skill became his signature in the game. It was made to be used in boss battles. Its potential can only be reached with great mana regeneration. Our protagonist couldn't buy that card even if he sold everything he owned. It's all or nothing now. He decided that he would collect that card. Outside, people want to know what quest the famous Archmage must be doing now. He asked our protagonist not to be surprised when he learns the truth. They are saying he's going to become the Lord of Wiga City. These false rumors are what amuse our protagonist the most. They are the best. After hearing that, he asked for his capsule to be prepared. The only problem with this is that actions speak much louder than words. Formidable forces are beginning to move to hunt the boy, and during his hunt for the crocodile, he is sure that some surprise is going to happen, leaving only one single option for our boy. Inside the building of the company that edits the protagonist's videos, the assistant asked if they weren't being too generous. The president didn't understand that for a moment, and his employees said that they are behaving that way. This made him think deeply about the matter. Seeing his reaction, the assistant asked if his boss was denying it, but he said there's nothing to deny. There is a very fine line between being a collaborator and making an investment. The employee believes that this player has great potential, but he doesn't believe that bribe will be effective. So the president will share with him the scenario he is predicting. He believes that the Archmage is preparing for something big in the future. They know that he is going to try to defeat the boss crocodile from the swamp. The employee said he would certainly send a recording as usual, but the president said he is wrong. That is going to happen live, as he is already teasing his audience about it. A guy interrupts the conversation, saying they received a response from the Archmage, who asked if he could do a live stream on their channel. This leaves the other employee impressed because the president was right. It didn't take long for him to start bragging that he went to an excellent university. Going to the other employees there, he told everyone to get ready for that big event. Our boy received 2 more gifts, which are very expensive: the Fire Arrow and the Wind Arrow. Now he is certain that the Rising Star channel is either sponsoring him to become one of their biggest stars or has some big interest in him, and our boy doesn't want to disappoint them. Since the moment this game was released to the world, it became the most popular in its genre. But during live streams, all sorts of incidents have already happened. To avoid problems, boss battles have always been kept secret. The only exception is for the major guilds that are able to protect themselves from ill-intentioned people. They often make examples out of these players for the audience. Inside the swamp, our boy is already fully aware of what's happening. Some people are already following him in that place. The deeper he goes into that terrain, the closer those people get to him. At first, he is not too worried about this, since he already knows that a large number of people would like to defeat him. That's why he needs to do things this way, to send a very affectionate message to those who would like to attack him without enough determination, showing that this will be a very difficult task. There are 20 minutes left until the crocodile appears. Lives in that game can only be broadcast through the game's own system, which has worldwide reach. This way of doing things doesn't displease everyone, and it doesn't happen by chance. There's a big reason why it's done this way, since it's very easy to stream everything using the game's system, because the system interface works excellently. With just a few taps, our protagonist can share his game screen with everyone. Managing to connect with the Rising Star channel, a chat window soon popped up for him. There are only 3 people at the moment, and our player is a moderator. He doesn't know who this last person is, who seems very familiar with him, saying it's the first time they've talked this way. Our protagonist still doesn't know who it is, until the person said they were the head of the Rising Star channel, saying they were looking forward to continuing working with him. Knowing that this person is important, our boy was impressed. He received authorization to start whenever he felt ready, and our boy told him he was happy with this partnership. Finally, he was ready to start the stream. The system said it would begin shortly. A countdown was initiated. About to start his stream, he is anxious to know how many people will watch it. One of his videos managed to get millions of views, and since the most recent event in the city, his name had become well known. He wished there would be at least 1,000 viewers. As soon as the stream started, he was flooded with several chat messages, surpassing the 1,000 mark in just a few seconds, a result that made him quite happy. He needed to control himself. He didn't want people to see him as overly emotional. So he started introducing himself to everyone, saying he was very grateful to be able to talk to his audience through that channel. He said he was about to face the swamp boss crocodile, but doing it alone wouldn't be any fun. Knowing that the fastest victory with a 4-man team happened in 10 minutes and 32 seconds, he said he was going to break that record. While some doubted his ability, other players just wanted to show up there to cause trouble. And around our protagonist, it's already noticeable that the jealous players are ready to interfere. But everything is happening according to his plan. Gold is already keeping his eyes fixed on the enemy. The owner of the swamp had appeared before them. That creature is over 10 meters long, on its back are some precious stones, and its attack pattern changes according to their color. At the moment, the stones are golden, indicating that the creature is in its safe state. Upon losing 30% of its health, it will enter phase 2, and the color of the stones changes every minute. When they are dark, that's when it is most dangerous because it hides in the depths. It becomes impossible to deal any damage to the creature, and during that time it can regenerate. It's necessary to deal damage during the color change to prevent the creature from hiding in the water. It didn't take long for the stones to turn red. His powerful paws are crushing the ground, while his huge jaws open in a threatening way. Our protagonist is also ready to start that adventure, activating Dragon Fever in front of everyone. The news about the assassin's failure was soon discovered. The woman said they were just testing the waters with that attempt, since they don't know if Asmo is supporting this player and he might intervene in this situation. She just didn't expect to lose that advantage. The employee said it was very difficult to get that request. Now he wants to know what the next move is. After drinking her juice, the woman said the only option is to unleash the dogs. She placed a small bounty on our protagonist's head of 10,000 coins, and whether he is defeated or not, the intention is to provoke him, since this will make his movement in the game more difficult. That is the objective she aims to achieve. But her conversation was interrupted by an important notification. The player she's trying to sabotage has started a Spawn livestream. Everyone is impressed that he is able to use Dragon Fever, and that he is using Wigga's bow, sending multiple fire arrows toward the creature with the help of Dragon Eyes. All of his attacks were directed at the stones on the crocodile's back, which had already changed its color again. As soon as the impact happens, a big explosion appears. This time, he would attack with ice arrows, sending all of them precisely thanks to the bow's abilities. He also used his wind arrows and lightning arrows, causing a massive amount of damage to that creature. The audience realized that he plans to end this in the beginning, but this strategy would consume his mana reserves quickly. It might be a reckless stance. It was time for the golem to let his star shine. He and the creature are locked in a power struggle. Our protagonist knows that the current strategy is not the standard one. Normally, he would save mana to attack vigorously during a phase change. But that creature is not his only opponent in that swamp. Jealous players are already sneaking closer, and they are scared that our protagonist alone can deal all that damage. Moreover, his way of fighting altered those players' plans. One of them suggested attacking when Dragon Fever ends, and a woman with a bow told everyone to wait a little longer. She figured he was showing all of his strength right at the beginning, because there must be his bodyguards infiltrated among those players, which is plausible since they imagine our boy is filthy rich. The color of the crocodile's gem changed once again, turning black quickly. The players are impressed by this, as not even a minute of battle had passed and the creature is already in phase 2. They decided they would wait a little longer. If they start interfering without a plan, they will end up suffering at the hands of our protagonist's bodyguards. The Guardian attacks furiously, saying he is doing this for his master. The audience recognized the creature's dedication. It landed several blows against the crocodile's armor. The dog wasn't left behind either. The creature is also very admired by the audience. Unfortunately, Lucky wasn't able to execute his signature throat bite, but he managed to grab something. Even though the golem is weaker than the crocodile, that doesn't matter, because they managed to deal a lot of damage. Our protagonist is prepared to send a new ring of arrows. While sending his attack, some started to believe in his ability to win. The crocodile has only 23% of its total health left. It's close to entering the third phase. In the face of all that violence, the players who are going to interfere are now scared and haven't made their move yet. But our boy knows they only delayed their intervention. As soon as his spells go on cooldown and his mana runs out, they will act. Our player told the audience that the creature is already at 20% health, believing he will be able to defeat it in under 8 minutes. Someone said he can only do that after spending a lot of money. The boy plans to set his mark at 7 minutes, even if it's difficult. So from now on, he would act very patiently, releasing his ice arrows toward the creature, hitting the stone on its back precisely. With the crocodile weakened, even the golem manages to overpower it. The more time passes, the more the audience is amazed by his abilities. Even the people watching want to know where the players who promised to sabotage him are. Some of the saboteurs started to wonder if he was deliberately slowing down his own pace, because he was attacking with much more speed, and that left the jealous ones very confused. Our protagonist said that someone who spent that much money cannot set an unreachable record, since that would ruin the fun for everyone else. And in our protagonist's opinion, there is only one person who is capable of spending more money than him in that game. After those words, Asmo made a donation of 10,000 coins, a truly impressive contribution. And our protagonist's attacks began to intensify once again, hitting the crocodile in a brutal manner. This donation soon caused a huge stir among the audience. Our protagonist realized that he really showed up on his stream. Since a new guest had arrived, he said he would change the camera angle a bit, zooming in on the action that was happening. As our protagonist was approaching, people noticed that he was putting himself at risk. Finally, the creature entered phase 3, and the golem was already having trouble overpowering it. Since the crocodile had gone completely crazy, his powerful paws managed to grab the creature, throwing the golem to the ground with great ease. His powerful tail was also moving even faster, hitting the stone creature with great violence, destroying the golem. It could no longer continue fighting, something expected by our protagonist since the level of that summon is still very low. His mana reserves were also dangerously low. Even so, everything is happening according to his plan, where his goal was to keep those jealous players within his reach. If things continue like this, he won't be attacked or caught by surprise. The woman thought that now she had an opportunity to attack. But another player said their target was too close to the crocodile and an attack from that tail could be fatal. And the creature would show no mercy to anyone. It charges furiously at our player, who seems completely defenseless, until the roar of another creature was heard, much louder than hers, leaving the jealous players surprised. No one imagined that Lucky would move to that position. He used his taunt skill, inviting the crocodile to a fight to the death, an exclusive ability of divine beasts. The crocodile cannot refuse this wonderful invitation, completely ignoring our protagonist. Faced with his fury, the audience started getting worried about the dog's health. Our protagonist is going to use Dragon Fever once again, which left the jealous players surprised, and the audience realized that all of this had been a trap. The boy's casting speed increased once again, and his unstoppable barrage of attacks was executed once more. The crocodile priest is once again being massacred. That firepower is truly insane. Before it could approach the wolf, it was already being targeted by dangerous attacks. Using what was left of its strength, the crocodile prepares to consume Lucky. But our protagonist prepared a powerful fire arrow. He is confident that this time things will be over, hitting the creature's back efficiently and decisively. The stone that was on its back finally shattered, and the audience realized that the battle was already over. The creature's huge body fell to the ground, too weak to stand up. Our protagonist received the title of Crocodile Hunter, and he had finally met the requirements of the ongoing quest, along with the secret conditions, and as a result gained one more level. Now that the fight is over, he would like to know how people reacted to what they saw. Several comments are praising his performance. Only then did he realize that his audience had surpassed 30,000 users. Several small donations started coming in, which is curious since no one knows that he is actually poor. The guy said he wished he had finished that in under 10 minutes, but he ended up doing it in 7 because the damage he can deal is very high. It was hard to maintain the pace. Apologizing to the people who were following him, then his eyes spotted something incredibly absurd. He received another donation of 10,000 coins from the player Asmo. While the jealous ones who had been watching everything from hiding couldn't make a single move, feeling like they had fallen into a trap. They believe our protagonist is somehow associated with Asmo, and that they must have planned everything that happened in that swamp. They thought he was just a rich guy, but he proved to be a very smart player. Little by little, they started fleeing from there before they could be caught and humiliated. With the fight over, our protagonist is quite satisfied with the result achieved. He had almost forgotten to thank the owner of the channel, and he needs to take the opportunity. He said he would see his audience again on the Rising Star channel, a surprising achievement for the channel's team. Everyone is happy with what the boss managed to accomplish. They also received many donations, but the president was still focused on something. Those words from our protagonist made all the difference. He clapped his hands in gratitude for everything that had happened. Things are heading toward a promising future. One of the employees thought those words were just formalities, but the president understood it as a message. That was the guarantee that his live streams would only be done on that channel and nowhere else, so that people who still try to contact him would stop doing so. Now they have the opportunity to take the next step in this relationship. The symbiosis between them is more than clear. They need to make this scenario beneficial for everyone involved. They cannot overemphasize profit, as this could compromise their relationship with the Archmage. His employees were very surprised by this assessment, and he continued his speech saying they need to give him an item that will please him. Inside the game's city, no one is talking about anything else. Everyone is discussing the latest achievement of our protagonist. It was an impressive feat. Even Asmo himself watched what happened. Some players believe that he wouldn't be capable of anything if it weren't for the superpower provided by money. This was only possible because of his abundant resources, so his accomplishments are not that impressive. Anyone would do the same if they had money to spare, but unlike the others, our protagonist manages to put on a good show. While they were talking about our protagonist, someone said he was there. He had appeared in the city of Wiga. For some, it's the first time seeing him in person. His popularity had increased greatly. Players wanted to pet Lucky. This experience is so intense for our boy that he is struggling with his anxiety. It's a relief that everything happened according to his plan. A mistake could have been fatal, and the consequences would have been disastrous. He certainly believes he would have given up. As a crowd is forming around him, he felt he should go to them to give his greetings. He and his creatures bowed politely, expressing gratitude to those who watched his stream. Since other channels keep trying to contact him, he was about to firmly say something he had already decided. All the content he produces will be broadcast on the Rising Star channel. Those players were not interested in that statement, and our protagonist knows they didn't come there to hear something like that. That greeting specifically was directed at the company that has supported him, so that the president of the company continues to see our protagonist as a friendly person there's nothing wrong with expressing gratitude to them. Changing the subject, he said he would share something very interesting with the other players. It was about the reward he would get in that place. The White Staff of Wigga, a very rare item. Some people were impressed by that, and another player said he pronounced the name incorrectly. This staff easily exceeds the value of 30,000 coins, and there are not many legendary items like this for sale. He told the others that this item is the first of its kind, something no one had ever obtained before. This news made the players excited. Some want him to record the entire experience, and he said that everything would be streamed on the Rising Star channel. Emma is thinking about everything that happened and asked her assistant if he knows the people from that channel. The guy said that the president of the company was his classmate. The woman wants the guy to tell her more about the nature of this person. She believes that the only option is to get closer to him if they want to get more information about the mysterious Archmage. The guy believes that the knowledge he has about this person won't help at all, which left his boss very intrigued. Even in college, he was a different person. Emma asked if he was mentally challenged. The employee said that he had great potential for discovering new talents. Besides that, he was the first to support the Archmage when he was still anonymous. Trying to extract information from him won't work. She is sure that this player is directly connected to the main storyline, and she wants to have access to that information as well since the Archmage progresses however he wants. She wouldn't allow an anonymous person to steal all that without knowing what the main storyline means. The woman's phone started ringing. She answered immediately to talk to Merlin. She told him that she was talking about this same subject just a moment ago and that they needed to meet in person. In the city, the old man told our protagonist that he had managed to accomplish something impressive. Our boy tries to act modest, but the old man knows that defeating the crocodile alone is a challenging feat, an achievement that few are capable of. The system notified that our boy managed to fulfill the hidden condition, something that makes him even happier. Looking around, he noticed that Sakhalin was not there with them. The old man said that the girl entrusted everything to this player and returned to her home. Our protagonist wants to know what he needs to do now. The old man likes his enthusiasm, but he reminded him that there is still something he needs to give him. Even though he has an aged appearance, he is still the ruler of that city, and it's only natural that he has a reward to give. Our boy waits anxiously for the item. The old man put his hand inside his coat pocket. Holding the staff in his hands, he said that it expresses the gratitude of all the citizens in that place. The staff is ranked as legendary. It is extremely powerful and very few were ever produced. The boy already knows that the item has exaggerated attributes. He is anxious to receive it, and the old man extended the item toward the boy. This immediately left our protagonist frozen, quite confused about what was happening. His surprise comes from the fact that he was not expecting to receive just that. He was instantly confused, imagining he had misunderstood things, and he had already made a promise to the other players. The old man asked if he liked the gift that much. Trying to hide his disappointment, he told him to appreciate the gesture. Only then did the man say he had prepared something a bit more special, and the staff in his hands began to glow as if there were cracks in its structure. A light began to fill the entire place, and the white staff was finally revealed, an item used by Wigga himself in ancient times, an item that possesses mysterious powers. Besides formidable attack power and boosts to intelligence and mana, it increases magic attack and the damage of consecutive attacks, allowing the protagonist to cast an additional simultaneous spell beyond his limit. This effect proved to be truly interesting, a complete game modifier, perhaps the only one of its kind. The old man said he used it in his youth, and now the staff belongs to our protagonist, a sign that he is highly esteemed by the ruler of the city, receiving the title of one who gained Wigga's attention. Now he would like the young man to listen to the request he has to make. Overflowing with joy, he said he would do anything the city governor asked of him. But the boy is still very entertained by the extremely rare item he had received. Feeling relieved that he had misunderstood, he wasn't hallucinating. That will serve as an addition to his ability to cast 2 simultaneous spells. Now he can cast 3 at the same time. The first person to discover this in the game was Asno himself, but this modifier only appears on items above level 150, and our protagonist managed to get this blessing before even reaching level 50, imagining that his next video will surpass 1 million views. Looking at his canine companion, he said that they were really lucky, until an exclamation mark appeared above the wolf's head. And the same happened with the lizard man. A new quest appeared for each of them. Our protagonist went to the Forest of Giants, a dense forest full of colossal trees. One of the most challenging hunting grounds, and it's necessary to go through it to progress in the game. It's also called the Graduation Forest. Once he finishes his business there, he will need to say goodbye to that city. The next area is the Tunga Kingdom. Whenever the player changes areas, it becomes very difficult to return. This serves to keep the game balanced, preventing powerful users from causing chaos. Besides that, it's necessary to prepare very well before changing areas, because no one knows if they will be ambushed by other players in the future. Our protagonist is relieved that those quests appeared for his creatures now. Lucky is about to evolve, but he needs to defeat almost 6,000 high-level monsters. The lizard man also wants to increase his loyalty after hunting 5,000, 555 creatures alongside his master. A truly impressive number that left our protagonist surprised by the amount of work. The monster trees are the most dangerous creatures in that forest. They can be up to 4 meters tall, and they can camouflage themselves very well in that environment. It's almost impossible to spot them. This makes things a bit complicated, because he also needs to defeat a large number of these creatures. Not to mention that he needs to continue with his recordings. The lizard man said there are many trees in this forest, and most of them are very tall. Our protagonist started to get excited. He would complete the main quest first. He needs to find Tamaru. So they continue advancing in that dangerous place. Small fruits start making noises. Looking at them, some players imagine that this is what they are looking for, but it's going to be difficult to reach them. The archer said he would handle it in an instant. His arrow flies toward the target, knocking down one of the fruits, but that seemed to have annoyed that tree, which revealed itself to be a camouflaged monster, completely scaring those players. Discovering that it was a terrifying creature, the monster swings its branches with great force, hitting the ground near the players who had to protect themselves. The warrior felt challenged by this since he is the tank of that team. He considered starting his career from scratch, thinking it might be easier to have another class. The complaints from that group became quite audible. Our protagonist is also in the forest. It's very good to have access to secret information. He can identify which trees are real and which are monsters. The lizard man said there are a few creatures here. He imagines they are scared of his master's presence. Our protagonist knows he can avoid the weaker creatures and can even locate the position of his main quest. Someone behind a tree asked him to stop walking because they knew this was Midas. Our protagonist confirmed the identity. That person in front of him was Tamaru himself. He belongs to the elf tribe and came down from the tree to talk. He said he had heard the stories, and this is the person who gained Wigga's recognition. Our player said he's not that skilled, but the elf said that if he managed to find him, that's enough proof of his abilities, because he should have been attacked multiple times by the monsters hiding in that forest, but the player remains unharmed. Showing him a book he said was a gift from Lord Wigga, and handed it to our protagonist, who received a rare skill. He hopes it's something related to attack. Before he could check what it was, the elf asked him to follow, which surprised our protagonist. Following that man's path, he became increasingly isolated from his surroundings. Our protagonist knows that the title of one who walks the elf's path can only be earned later in the game. It is only given to those who walk the path that only elves can see. It increases intelligence by 15 points. These rewards are very good when accumulated, and the elf asked if he already knew about the monsters. Our protagonist knows they are hiding. The elf said they don't pretend to be trees. They are actually trees that transform into monsters due to an evil power. And recently, some mutants have started appearing among these creatures. Our protagonist started getting curious. The elf said creatures capable of dividing started appearing. That's something that had never happened before. Fortunately, this is still limited to a specific region for now. Our protagonist thought that he was referring to the power of the nameless god, until he started thinking more carefully about what he knows. He asked the elf how many parts the creatures usually split into. He told our boy that sometimes they split into 10 creatures, but the size is considerably reduced. It's a very troublesome situation, and asked our boy to eliminate the creatures before they multiply even more. The area in question has already been completely isolated. There are approximately 500 mutants there. Our boy received an elimination quest, and trying to hide his joy, said that this is indeed unfortunate. He's very excited to carry out this task, which can also speed up his personal goals. At the headquarters of Rising Star, an employee brought the president the skills he had requested. He also said there's a rumor gaining strength among the secretariat. He wants to know what it is. His employee said that the Abyss Guild is very interested in gathering information about the Archmage. It made the president realize that our protagonist is even more talented than he had imagined. For a moment, his employee was worried, and the president's phone rang immediately. He answered Jack. It's been a while since they last spoke. As the call continued, the employee said he would give him some privacy. The person on the other end of the call wanted to know what kind of person our protagonist is. Before he could answer, he asked his employee not to leave the room yet. He knows Jack works for the Abyss Guild and that they are already watching our protagonist. After all, he is progressing in a very exotic way. He is not associated with any major guild. Our protagonist continues to be the topic of every discussion. The president said he cannot share personal information. The fact that he was contacted and not the player can only prove one thing, that they are the only connection other people can have with our protagonist, and he assumes that the boy doesn't intend to join anyone else, especially the major guilds. He's also not willing to lose this excellent contact. The employee wants to know what his boss is thinking of doing. He said to send a message to our protagonist, proposing an exclusivity contract for just 1 year, and that the profits would be redistributed with the protagonist receiving 90%. In the place where our protagonist plays, his friend is there who seems hungry. Noticing this, the boy offered to buy something for him. The starving guy was very happy and asked if they could eat something expensive. Handing his phone to him, he said his friend could choose whatever he wanted. But the guy, who was about to eat for free, didn't like being offered Chinese food, and then the protagonist's phone rang. He was very impressed by what he had read. His friend even got worried about his reaction. and the guy said he received news from his employer and needed to get into a capsule immediately. His friend got worried, imagining that our protagonist has a very demanding boss. Now he was inside the game world. He received more skill cards, but what was really impressive was the content of the message. He thought it was a way for them to pressure him into revealing the item he had received. He decided he would answer that call, since this staff had never been revealed to the public before, while hunting monsters that had never been shown to other players. Finally, his stream was happening. Messages from his audience started to appear, and our protagonist made his introduction. He said he was there to keep his promise, showing the white staff to all of them, and to show what it is capable of. He had also found some special monsters, one of which was already being attacked by Lucky. Our protagonist is very happy with everything that's happening, and one of those creatures started to show a different energy. Until now, the audience said it was just a common tree monster, but they were shocked to see it multiply. The boy said he wouldn't reply to the chat for a moment because he needed to focus on the battle. The fireball was already prepared in his hand, and in the other, an ice spell. And completely surprising his audience, he also prepared a lightning orb that immediately left his audience shocked. This shouldn't be possible at his level. Our protagonist said that the demonstration of that item was now concluded. Now he could end his stream. Since people only cared about the item reveal, this made his audience react to stop him from ending it. So our protagonist changed his mind, saying he would finish off the monsters that appeared, burning the first one while also electrocuting it. The creature could not withstand that attack. Then he asked his companions to watch the rear, since more creatures were revealing themselves. The lizard man and the wolf were ready for combat. A tree monster revealed itself once again, starting to divide in front of everyone watching. Our protagonist attacks the creature with all his elements, easily destroying all those monsters while continuing to receive donations. He's very happy with the current profit distribution. He understood it as an incentive from the company, and now they will continue engaged in content production. It didn't take long to defeat several creatures that had appeared, saying he would end the stream for the day. His audience wanted to keep watching, but repeating that over and over would soon become boring, so he would end it at the peak. He stated that more videos of his hunts would be broadcast on that channel, finally ending the stream for his followers. Someone was watching all of that on their tablet. It was the company president. He told his employee to inform our protagonist that he had done a good job. The employee had never seen an item like that or a monster like the one revealed. He asked if his boss was already expecting something like that. He was confident about it. That's why he changed the profit-sharing ratio. What confirmed his intuition was the Abyss Guild's interest in our protagonist, feeling confident that he made the right decision, because he found a talent that will shine like a star in the sky. Faced with the success of that stream, the employee doesn't know why it ended so quickly. The president said that it happened because Asmo didn't show up this time, imagining that our protagonist wouldn't continue if that person wasn't there. Now they need to start the work editing the raw material they have, because for the next year, they would have to share all the joys and sorrows that may arise. A huge explosion happened in the middle of that forest. People are commenting that the protagonist's stream was a success again, even if it was short. The lizard man continues working for his master, destroying the creatures with the power of his sword. The wolf is now working together with him, using the lizardman's shoulder as support, something that the creature did not entirely like. While Lucky jumps into battle, the lizardman became furious with his rival. Lucky once again performed his signature move of biting throats. Our protagonist was not far behind, using his elements to continue the attack. The community's reaction is in an uproar. Our protagonist is the main topic within the game, and he is determined to put an end to it. After everything that happened, he no longer regrets getting all that attention, since he never thought he would stay hidden for so long. The system said that the Guardian continues working alongside his master. His body was enveloped by great power. His loyalty had reached rank 7. Our protagonist needs to choose an ability. Before that could happen, he was surprised by a monster, forcing him to dodge the attack. The creatures were very numerous in that place, so the boy told Gold to stay focused on the fight. The lizardman received that order with great joy. Our boy needs to replenish his mana reserves, and the wolf charged forward furiously to attack, leaving his master quite pleased, who, once recharged, went back to electrocuting the monsters, while the wolf puts his jaws to work on those creatures, finally reaching a new level of power. The creature managed to evolve once again, and our protagonist reached level 50, a truly interesting milestone. The War Dragon granted him a new opportunity, and this time its image appeared before the protagonist. The figure of the dragon had appeared in an imposing manner. Our protagonist is looking at it with great interest. It is the first time he managed to get 3 cards in a row. It's time to choose the lizardman's ability, who was happy to have been prioritized over the dog. The lizardman's skill cards started appearing as well, leaving our protagonist even more impressed, because that guardian of his also has very interesting luck. The boy's eyes were soon fixed on that single golden card. This legendary rank skill must be good. Gigantification allows defense and attack to increase as the body size grows. Used by the best tanks in the game, surely the lizardman must be the only guardian capable of using this. But our protagonist knows his guardian is special. The higher his loyalty, the greater the benefits. And he is the only player who knows these secrets. The others do not know how loyalty works. If he were to share this information through a video, he would certainly be very successful. The wolf is also eager for the progress he will receive. Now honestly, the artist really messed up the wolf's appearance. It looks terrible, so it's time to choose Lucky's skill. Our protagonist started staring at the system window, and several cards appeared before them. It didn't take long for him to identify a very good ability, the Call of Battle, which when executed increases the stats of all allies. Also known as the War Howl, its first appearance was during the Guild War, an excellent ability for the battlefield. It was used by a divine beast during the conflict. In the midst of that huge conflict, the ability was activated, boosting the power of all its allies, which resulted in a crushing victory. Now the canine friendship of our protagonist can do the same. Things are progressing smoothly, and he is waiting for a legendary card for himself as well. The War Dragon's book is open before him. Our protagonist is confident he will receive something good, but his luck had already run out. Among all those cards, only one seemed to stand out. It's the Fire Steps. Now he can leave a trail of flames wherever he steps. At first, he didn't consider this ability bad. In fact, it's actually very good if you think that everything his feet touch will catch fire. If he needs to flee from dangerous monsters, he will leave behind a trail of flames that could be dangerous for them. The downside is that this will consume the protagonist's mana, so it's not an ability well regarded by all players. Currently, our protagonist consumes a lot of mana, so this ability will not be very useful. He needs an ability that helps him recover mana and considered buying something at the auction. Looking to the side, he saw that Tamaru had arrived. Perhaps he came because of the quest's completion. Our protagonist patiently waits to be praised, and that's exactly what happened. The elf was grateful that he managed to defeat all the monsters. Our protagonist said it was no big deal, and Tamaru continued praising, saying the boy possesses great humility. He turned around to fetch something he had brought. That is the reward for our hero, who received another card from him. Seeing that his ranking was unique, he became anxious to see what awaited him. But remembering what had happened moments ago, he began to lower his expectations. He cannot see the contents of the cards until he chooses them. It is completely random, and this game has countless abilities. Finally, he decided to open the book, and several cards appeared before him once again. His face was soon filled with surprise upon seeing what had appeared. An ability that allows the user to recover mana after using a spell as long as they stay still. Now he can continue attacking the way he has been without worrying so much. Unable to hide how happy he was with this achievement, he is already eager to know what his next task is, because with those improvements, he will crush any challenge. The elf said he managed to investigate that place better while our protagonist was dealing with the monsters. He already expected the man to ask him to take down some high-level boss creature. But contrary to what he was expecting, the elf said that the Bill Tree was in terrible condition. It became a monster due to the influence of that unknown power. This is an extremely huge tree, even by the standards of that place, being symbolic for the entire region, as it stands out in the middle of the forest. Having to defeat a creature of that size will be very difficult. Being only level 50, our protagonist doesn't know if he will be able to do it. And that was exactly the request the elf made to him to defeat that dreadful creature. While the system recognizes the new quests, our protagonist is devastated about his near future. All that was left for him was to walk through the forest toward the creature. The system had already accepted the quest, but our player needs to be at level 70 to execute it. As a reward, he will receive a legendary card. He already knows that the main scenario won't be easy and would never have gotten this far if it weren't for his unusual skills. But even faced with that difficulty, he has no idea what will be necessary to achieve victory. Creatures of that size can only be defeated by teams of at least 10 players. And they can't be just anyone, they need to be professional players. The difficulty of this quest is completely different from what he has faced so far. He will have to defend against attacks that would be dangerous for teams of 10 players. At first, he thought that with mana regeneration his life would be much easier, but he needs mana regeneration points and money to buy them. Back in the real world, he returns home while thinking that he has been spending a lot of money lately. He is still far from the budget he needs to prepare, and he doesn't know what to do now. Taking a loan to buy items is something very strange. He can make money through live streams. Recognizing that one of his priorities would be to increase his level a bit more while thinking about it, his phone rang. He had received his salary from the Rising Star channel. Only then did he remember that today was the scheduled day to receive the payment. Our protagonist went to check the amount he had received. He was very surprised to find that it was $25,912. He has no idea how much he had actually earned. With that amount in hand, things could be very different. But the first thing he was going to do was send a thank you message to that company, writing a simple thank you to them. He thought he was being a bit boring, so he decided to improve it, starting to write a much longer message. It was in that moment of distraction that a woman ended up bumping into him, which caused her to fall to the ground, just like our protagonist's phone. He apologized for what happened since he wasn't paying attention to where he was going. The girl seemed to have hit her head because she brought her hand to it in pain. This made our protagonist worried, thinking that he might have hit her too hard, and he asked if she was hurt. The girl became embarrassed and started stuttering to answer. At that moment, the boy noticed that his phone was on the ground, next to the girl's cat. She became worried that she had lost her hat, and our protagonist was worried about his phone. Both reacted at the same time to grab their belongings. And a romantic cliche just happened. Their hands touched. The girl became even more embarrassed because of it, but as soon as she put her cap back on her head, she continued on her way. Our protagonist's phone was still working, and while thinking about finishing that message, he realized that the girl was strange but hopes that she didn't read the content of that email. That girl is named Lee Seol, and it has been a long time since she last looked someone in the eyes in real life. She has a phobia of people. All she does with her life is play that game because life is different in the virtual world. She is adored and recognized as the muse of the Abyss Guild. This is so important that the game has become her second life. It was to it that she made a return. Being warmly welcomed by Merlin, the girl asked if the next raid had already been scheduled, but they have no response from Emma, who said she would notify the members if that happened. She was also instructed to keep an eye on our protagonist, because Emma told everyone that he will become a dangerous individual in the future, putting the guild's survival at risk. Merlin asked if she knows who this person is, and the girl said she had seen some videos. After saying that, the call was ended. If a guild leader spoke about him, it's a sign that he must be a really dangerous person. But as she left that hall, she thought it had nothing to do with her. In the Rising Star building, the employees are in the middle of a meeting. It's the first time they had such a large profit margin. Faced with these wonderful facts, the president recalled that there's a restaurant near their office and suggested having a dinner to celebrate the company's success. His employees were very enthusiastic about this, until an employee said that our protagonist had sent a reply. There was nothing special about it. He was just thanking them for the payment, saying that you would soon send more content. But that's not how the president saw that message. There is nothing more special than words coming from the Archmage streamer, the one who obtained exclusive items that not even Asmo has yet, a player who revealed unknown monsters to the community. That definitely was not a simple message. So he asked the video production team to come to him. The employees reminded him that he had talked about the company dinner, and the president said they would do that after finishing their work, because that day it was necessary to work overtime. On the internet, players are talking about the new video from our protagonist. It was an edit of what was shared live. Not everyone likes the material, but there are those who enjoyed the final result, even though it was no longer fresh content. Others are impressed with the quality of the video. It resembles a high-quality movie. A guy is impressed with the item revealed by our protagonist and started wondering how much it would be worth in an auction. Our protagonist thought they would release the video next week, but realized they had brought the release forward and thought that maybe he was being pressured to generate more content. The problem is that he needs to spend the equivalent of $20,000 on potions just to do the current quest. Then he saw something interesting in the comments section. The player Asmo left his words there. He couldn't watch the last stream because he was busy. He wished it could happen at a time when he could watch, stating that he would make donations. Our boy saw in this a great opportunity. Even other players want to see this duel between big spenders. After getting up from the armchair, he asked his friend to prepare a capsule immediately because he needed to play. He finally entered the Berserk Forest. He is there to fulfill his mission. He felt an unknown power in that region. The tree was reacting to his presence, and now he wouldn't be able to leave that forest. Our protagonist is estimating an area of 500 meters. It's time for him to start his most challenging endeavor. The most intense part of an RPG is the colossal creatures, and that one is level 77. In his previous account, he was already at level 180 when he defeated his first giant monster. The amount of health that creature has is truly frightening, something he was already expecting considering the size of the creature. Its movement is very slow. He confirmed to the system that the creature has 3 phases, and it can use self-destruction when its health drops below 10%. Our player's preparations had already been made. He was going to start the stream. He was already preparing his opening speech for his audience. Introducing himself to them, it didn't take long for the donations to start coming in. He said that today he would defeat a new boss creature, the Biltrink. It would be better for the players to come see it with their own eyes, showing them the enormous creature, a gigantic tree much bigger than anything around it. Even from a distance, they could tell it was enormous. Our protagonist said he would start immediately, and a player noticed that he was carrying some very expensive potions. That one he was drinking cost 700 gold coins. He immediately used his mana regeneration field ability. After that, he was already prepared to cast his spells, sending the first attack toward that colossal creature, which was followed by several others. The players don't know how our protagonist manages to hit from that distance. Since then, he hasn't stopped attacking for even 1 second, landing several hits on the boss creature. However, the more he attacked, the more reflective the boy became. His audience was really enjoying what was being streamed. Knowing that this quest wouldn't be easy, our protagonist kept attacking. Those watching the stream couldn't tell what the best attack strategy would be. And after using several spells, our protagonist's mana had run out. So he pulled out a very expensive potion of herbs, drank it to recover because the problem with his class is its mana limitation. People realized that things were about to get very dangerous as the creature kept getting closer. A little over 50 meters separated the two. Some started saying that he should run. As the terrifying monster kept approaching, donations kept coming in. Far away in another place, Lucky used his taunt ability to get the boss's attention. Our protagonist wasn't worried about being the target since he had already planned for that. As soon as Lucky used the ability, the colossal creature shifted its focus. And to do that, it moved one of its huge arms. The system announced that the monster was using pruning, showing the audience that its arms were transforming, and from its own body, other creatures began to appear, as if it were splitting. Our protagonists realized they had already reached Phase 2. The dog is quite far away and might not be much help if our protagonist needs it, but the lizard men won't let anything get close. Those monsters could try to touch the protagonist, but succeeding is another story. The boy authorized the lizard men to fully enjoy that experience. The creature's body started to glow and tremble, and its size began increasing. It was at that moment that Asmo started watching the stream, making a generous donation. After growing, the lizard man was ready to fulfill his task. Asmo didn't know that Guardians could use abilities, being impressed by the lizard man's power. While our protagonist watches everything patiently, some players never imagined Asmo would actually tune in. They assume Asmo likes our protagonist, who is about to fire an ice spear, sending several attacks toward the creature. It didn't take long for its health to be heavily compromised. Everything was happening according to plan, and he thought that maybe it was time to speed things up a bit. Asmo made another large donation, leaving the protagonist's audience impressed. It was at that moment that the boy called for Lucky. He asked him to return to his master. The dog understood the order given. While he made his way back, people started wondering why he called Lucky back. The giant creature watches this with interest. Things are getting increasingly dangerous. The lizardman said he would continue protecting his master. Asmo said that the protagonist's guardian talks too much, and because of that, he made another donation. Indeed said the protagonist, his guardian likes to chat, and not just that. The creature finally reached their position. The creature's proximity made his audience worried since he could be defeated with just one attack. Our protagonist opened his inventory. He said he would finish that battle using an axe, which surprised everyone. That could be very brave or very foolish. The creature's body began to glow, releasing a huge amount of energy, and our protagonist noticed it immediately. The big explosion happened. The monster used self-destruction, raising a huge cloud of smoke through the forest air. Regardless of what had happened, the audience remained very entertained. The silhouette of the lizardman could be seen within the smoke. Everyone on the protagonist's team is alive, but he didn't want that explosion to happen. Looking ahead, he realized that the worst-case scenario had occurred. He wanted to finish the creature with a cool technique, but it ended up self-destructing. His audience said that he is very lucky since he could have died from that explosion. Smiling as he read those words, our boy acknowledged that everything went exactly as planned. This way, no one would find out that he already knew about the self-destruction. The system announced that he had defeated the creature, receiving several titles for it, and items were added to his inventory in addition to leveling up. He could finally end that stream, but he was very impressed to see that more than 120,000 people were watching him. That left him very grateful and fulfilled, saying to them that the ending didn't go as planned, but he thanked everyone for watching. Asmo really liked what he had seen and made another donation of 20,000. Sitting on the floor, Merlin said that things are becoming more and more problematic. Emmett disagreed with him because she believes things are getting easier for them. Those words left Merlin thoughtful. The woman said that it's no longer necessary to spend money on bounties, much less put a price on the protagonist's head, because his actions have already turned him into a trophy for the community, capable of instantly granting fame to anyone who could hunt him down. And every time he streams, he also exposes his own weaknesses. His firepower is impressive, but his mana is low. The ability he used to regenerate mana isn't effective when fighting against players, because he needs to stay still. And he's also not under the protection of any guild. Playing the game while being as famous as he is won't be easy from now on. All they need to do is wait for an opportunity to gather clues about the main scenario. Merlin said he would prepare his guild members because he realized that our protagonist relies on level restrictions in some areas, but they could create new characters just to be able to attack him. The woman liked this idea. With the power and money they have, creating new powerful characters is possible. Inside the forest, the lizardman said that his master is incredible, and Lucky seemed to agree with him. Our protagonist would never have managed it without the help of the two, and he praised the work they did. Now he wants to see the titles and the rewards he had received. One title increases all his stats by 20 points. The other increases his health by 29 points. That is truly a huge reward. But rewards from the main quest are also good, and he's already eager to receive lots of items. When opening his inventory, he came across something peculiar. He had only received 2 items for defeating the creature. He started thinking that maybe he had forgotten something. That doesn't make sense even if it's a unique ranked creature. Not understanding what had happened, he started thinking that this game is really trash. After seeing his master devastated, the lizardman swore revenge on the person who made him sad. But our protagonist said that if he wanted to carry out his revenge, he would have to destroy the very world he lives in. Still discouraged, he decided to open the treasures he had received. The first item that appeared before him was a staff that holds the mana of the creature. An item like this isn't very useful for our boy because it increases intelligence by 1 point and mana by 99. The most important thing is that the item can be sold. Confirming this information made him very happy, because he was going to turn that item into fried chicken in the real world. But he quickly reconsidered that idea because that staff greatly accelerated his mana regeneration. Only then did he realize that the item is actually quite interesting. While he was impressed, the elf approached our protagonist. who was very surprised by his presence. Looking at the destroyed forest, the elf revealed that he didn't imagine he would be able to defeat that creature. Storing his item, our protagonist calmed down because he needed to finish the main quest. And there was something even more important as well. The reward would be something legendary, and he told the elf that he had simply done what was necessary. But he invested a lot to make that possible, and he's eager to receive his reward. However, something unexpected began to happen. The power of the nameless god managed to ambush our protagonist. That scene left the elf very worried. The wolf and the lizard man were also alarmed. The player realized that this pressure was very intense. It's strange that no warning from the game had appeared. His defenses were significantly reduced, and he would enter a state where he couldn't use abilities, with his health being drained. Unable to react, he started thinking if he would die like this, until the golden light appeared before his eyes. It grew more and more intense until it completely dispelled that energy. The elf had covered his face because of that bright light, which began to blind everyone who was there. The golden energy was driving away the power of the nameless god. The egg that our protagonist was carrying absorbed all of it. After the energy was dispelled, our protagonist was exhausted. With the dragon egg in his hand, he started thinking that he only survived because of it. That power is necessary to hatch the egg. The system said that the progress is at 3%. While our protagonist was thinking about this, his companions were worried about him. Approaching, the elf said that the player was in possession of an item that he didn't know about. He was relieved that he was okay and told him to talk about the details of the incident with Wigga, who was already waiting outside. This information was completely unexpected. Finally, our protagonist managed to leave that forest. He wouldn't be able to enter it again, and several soldiers were outside. The old man was already waiting for our protagonist, and by examining his facial expression, he noticed that something very serious had happened. So he wanted to know about it directly from him. Our protagonist said that as soon as he defeated the creature, the power of the evil god cornered him and tried to kill him. And it would have worked if it weren't for the dragon egg. Maybe this is a mechanism to eliminate players who skip stages. The old man received a letter from the kingdom of Toonga. Similar things happened there too. Appearance of mutant monsters never seen before, as well as the power of the nameless god that began ambushing people. Everyone who tried to confront this power ended up dying. The only one who survived so far is the protagonist. He thought that the old man would task him with an investigation. Indeed, that's exactly what he was going to ask. He showed him a golden book saying that upon arriving in Toonga, someone would be looking for the young man, who finally received the legendary ability for completing the quest and can now change cities. The old man said he would hear more details from that other person. Our player needs to meet the person who wrote the letter in the kingdom of Toonga. After completing this mission, he will be able to enter a restricted area. But going to that other kingdom wouldn't be his priority now. He wants to first analyze the items he had received, finally opening the second treasure he got for defeating that creature. The first item he received was a staff capable of greatly aiding his mana recovery, which is very surprising given its intensity. This could solve his mana exhaustion problem. Using telekinesis, it won't be hard to swap items when necessary. Not to mention that even though it's a unique ranked item, he can sell it for an excellent price. He decided that he would keep it since he needs the staff. Now he needs to decide what the next class will be. In the next kingdom, he will have to deal with dangerous centaurs. He thought he could change the appearance of his guardian to that creature, and it would be good if he could wield a spear. According to the strategy, that's exactly what he did. Thinking about doing a live stream to showcase new weapons, already thinking about the profit he could make. Now he doesn't know whether he should use that skill book now. Before opening it, he thought deeply that he needed the draconic mana. He asked Lucky to howl at the book for good luck. The wolf did as ordered, and the lizardman asked if he should do it too. But our protagonist excused him from that task, leaving the lizard very sad. Finally, the cards appeared before him, and our protagonist started looking for something interesting. The lizardman said that the wolf's intervention didn't help at all until our protagonist said that what he was looking for had appeared. That was going to change his life forever. It was Draconic Mana, a legendary ability. With its appearance, our protagonist's team began to celebrate. No matter what appears in his path, it will be defeated. The lizardman is very happy with his master's progress. He wants to know where they're going now because he will devote his body and soul to following him. Only then did the boy say that they are not going hunting now. In the next kingdom, they will encounter level 100 players, so he can't get there while being level 50. He needs to take advantage of this region as much as possible. Once in the real world, he's drinking his energy drink, recognizing that he spent the last few days leveling up. He was also learning how to use his abilities together. To become more and more efficient, now it's hard for him to even run out of mana. Until he heard someone saying they got insider information about a special route. All the guilds have gathered to put a bounty on the Archmage's head. But this rumor doesn't even bother our protagonist. His friend said he's telling the truth, and whoever manages to defeat the Archmage on video will receive $100,000. The size of that bounty made our boy almost spit out the drink he hadn't even swallowed yet. His friends kept saying that this is only happening because the Archmage provoked those guilds. Walking down the street, our protagonist wanted to know who started spreading that lie, and he became very angry thinking it could have been his friend. Before entering the store, his phone rang. He put his hand in his pocket to see who was trying to call him, seeing that it was Tu's number, his brother. Answering the call, he asked what it was about after saying that he was eating well. The two talk in a friendly manner, and our protagonist realized it had been a while since he last spent time with his family. Since he received his payment, he told his brother to buy something for his daughter, assuring him that the money he earns is legitimate. He also confirmed that he would return home early. After that, the call was ended. He was already feeling much better. False rumors would soon be forgotten. While he was distracted, he bumped into a woman. Thinking that this happened again in such a short period of time, he thought his luck had reached its limit. His phone had also fallen, and this time, it landed screen down. He immediately thought it might have broken. Worried about what happened, he began inspecting his phone immediately. This time, his phone had indeed broken. The woman who bumped into him started apologizing, saying she was in a big hurry. It was only then that he noticed familiarity in those eyes, and the same was felt by the woman. They had already bumped into each other on another occasion. He told all of this to his friend, who made fun of him. Since the girl recognized the fault, she said she would compensate him. But bumping into the same person twice is a huge coincidence. For our protagonist, it was just bad luck, and his friend said he understands nothing about romance. Changing the subject, he said he had more information about the Archmage and the guilds. It seems that soon they will face each other, but our protagonist knows this is a lie. His friend continues, saying that the Archmage is leveling up in the giant forest to prepare for battle. Only then did our protagonist ask where he gets this bizarre information, and he said it's from a game community. Since he was no longer interested in that subject, he asked him to prepare a capsule. But his friend was upset because it was the protagonist who had asked about it. After thinking about it, our protagonist doesn't understand those who believe in senseless rumors, and that lie even reached the company that makes his videos. The president seemed to really enjoy it. His employee asked if it wasn't just a rumor, but the president assured him that it would soon become the truth since the Archmage has no interest in maintaining a friendly relationship with the guilds. He probably wants things to remain hostile. The employee doesn't believe he actually wants that kind of situation. Opening his computer, the president started musing about the number of views they could get with it. His employee realized it would be something huge. The Archmage is still a very hot topic, and he grew way too fast. As soon as he arrives in Toonga, the conflict will begin, and they are also involved in this situation, and they must help the protagonist with it. His employee thought he was going to use the wonderful tool of bribery and no longer knows if our protagonist will use the gifts they give. Maybe it means nothing, and the president wrote something to be sent to him. Seeing that list of abilities, the employee was impressed, and his boss said the reckless driver needs that kind of thing. Extra protection in case the worst happens. Inside the forest, our protagonist is using fireballs, which are very useful for destroying those trees. He increases his proficiency in the ability as he keeps training. The wolf wouldn't be left behind in that competition, and the lizardman also obeys the master's commands. Our protagonist was already prepared to use another spell. The combination of their attacks is completely devastating, destroying everything in their path. There isn't a single creature in that place that can withstand them. The poor tree monsters are being massacred. Finally, our boy reached level 60, receiving another opportunity from the War Dragon. He immediately opened his inventory to equip other items. Now he has the item set of the Black Trinket. He was wearing the cloak and boots from that set as well. All stats receive 25 points, and he will receive an additional 14 if he gets a third item. He decided he would also put clothes on the lizardman. Now his guardian was properly dressed to practice violence, feeling extremely emotional toward his master for treating him like a loyal subject. But Wolf was upset, seeing that his competitor had also received attention. Unfortunately, our protagonist doesn't have items he can equip on him. His money is tight. He apologized for that, leaving the wolf sad, while the lizardman is probably living the happiest day of his life. Now he needs to use the blessing of the War Dragon, and several cards appeared before him. Our protagonist hoped he would receive something legendary, finding something very interesting: recycling, which allows him to recover his health by spending mana, and recover mana when taking damage. In summary, when one of these attributes decreases, the other increases. Something to prolong his lifespan in a dangerous situation would be better achieved by using potions. Thinking about possible strategies, he realized he needed better defense. The lightning defense was already too weak. Since his mana now regenerates too quickly, he remembered the mana shield ability. Once the shield is created, it will consume mana every time he takes damage. If combined with the abilities he currently has, it will provide constant health recovery. The problem is that he doesn't want to spend 15,000 to buy this skill card right now. Logging out of the game, he told his companion that they would stop there for the day. But it didn't take long for him to return to the forest. Our boy couldn't hide that he was out of breath. He had managed to acquire the Mana Shield ability, all thanks to the head of the Rising Star channel, which made our protagonist extremely happy. The Kingdom of Toonga can only be accessed by passing through the city of Wiga. It is the main stage for mid-level players. The landmark of this city is the Central Castle. The city is surrounded by 4 castles, and the first place players are sent to is the castle located in the west. Our player finally went to that kingdom. Lucky was the first to appear, followed by the lizardman. The players who were in that plaza realized this could only mean one thing. The Archmage streamer had arrived in that kingdom as well. They started getting worried about what he might do and whether he would establish his dominance, since there were rumors that he was going to go to war with the guilds. Everyone was waiting for a declaration of war from him, and were surprised that he seemed to be friendly. One player was worried about it, thinking that gesture might have been hostile. He even imagined that our protagonist would attack him in front of the guards. Full of fear, the player said that he was only looking at our protagonist, and ended up being called by him for doing that. And our boy said that he would take pictures with anyone who wanted, completely breaking the expectation that people had about him. In all games, players who start their journey later than others end up falling behind. By joining a guild, they can receive support, especially if it's a big one. That's why our protagonist gained the interest of all of them, besides becoming a big topic among the players. His journey is showing everyone that there are other options, and now he had finally arrived in that city. Everyone was expecting him to start a war because of the rumors being spread. But he was there in the plaza taking pictures with other players, who also wanted to take pictures with the Lizardman. That player never thought he would be so close to one, and Gold said that he is a guardian, not a lizardman. The player asked about the material he was using, and the guardian said it is a symbol of his loyalty, received from his master. They were impressed with the companions of our player, and started getting impressed with the game and its details. Even so, things were going as planned. He hoped that the rumors would end after this, because what matters most to him are the missions associated with the main scenario. Some people inside a building were saying that our protagonist is a problem. They didn't expect him to start taking pictures as soon as he arrived, and a warrior said he must enjoy getting attention. But they are interested in what they will do with him. They need to act before he becomes the target of others. It's time for them to try to teach our protagonist a lesson. At the end of the day, he headed to one of the city gates. Wherever our protagonist goes, he draws attention, and they thought he had gone out to hunt. As he made his way, he was constantly being watched. The woman with the sword was confident in her plans. Approaching our protagonist in a friendly manner, she asked if he was really the Archmage. She said she was a big fan and wanted to take pictures with him too. Being outside the protection of the city, our protagonist became thoughtful, because he knew they were from the Sneeko Guild. He also noticed that she had several blessings active, which made their intention very obvious. The woman asked if he had changed his staff since he was no longer using the white one. Our protagonist said that one is much better for beating people like them. That group became worried, imagining that they had been discovered, and that he probably knew from the beginning. Their warrior wasted no time and started attacking our protagonist. They are confident in the outcome because they managed to greatly reduce the distance. It's already too late for him to try to defend himself. There's no way a mage can react at close range. Our protagonist keeps defending himself with the staff, while the extras are determined to embarrass themselves. The woman's blade is glowing intensely. She and the warrior keep pressuring our protagonist, but they don't achieve the desired result, becoming extremely worried. They also didn't feel any resistance from our protagonist, who seems very relaxed, until they heard the scream of their companion. The Guardian and the Divine Beast weren't wasting any time. The backup they had hidden had already been eliminated. Our protagonist found the surprise of his attackers strange, showing them his mana shield. That was a good opportunity to start a live stream, and that's exactly what our protagonist did. He knows his audience is eager for his first stream in that city, and he said he encountered some problems. Since many people tried to ambush him, he decided he would change his strategy, and now he had become a tank, even though he was a mage, if those people were capable of defeating him. Our protagonist stated that he would invest 100,000 into their guild if they managed to defeat him, asking everyone to attack him. His class should be weak in this type of fight, and his attackers knew that. Even our protagonist knew that's how it should be. That's why it was easy to predict they would try to close the distance, and if he used the Guardian and the Wolf, the battle would become chaotic. There's a small chance his companions could be defeated. That's why he decided he would be the tank in that fight. Faced with their inefficiency, our protagonist started calling them weak and useless, and said he couldn't believe the Sneeko Guild associates with that kind of people. His attackers still couldn't figure out how they had been discovered. The warrior started to panic after cutting through a rosy effect, realizing they would now have to deal with the protagonist's companions. The wolf wasted no time defeating that woman, and our protagonist watched as the fight ended. As soon as everything was over, he checked the evaluation of those guys, which was at 37 points. Now he was going to check the items he had received from defeating them. To avoid escalating the provocation, our protagonist would refrain from taking only the best items. He decided to take the Tunga sword they had. While doing this, he began scanning his surroundings, noticing there were several players a bit further away watching everything he was doing. That was a sign that he should continue with his plan. He wouldn't end his stream now. He told his audience he was going to put on a show. Since everyone came there to see a mage, it was time for them to witness a magic show. His audience imagined he would hunt those centaurs, which are dangerous and aggressive beasts, difficult for a mage to defeat alone because of their speed. Our protagonist wanted to demonstrate his strength to avoid being bothered by weak players, as the centaur charged furiously toward him. Fully focused, our protagonist had a lightning spell prepared in his hand, managing to fire it directly at the creature. That first attack was soon followed by fire arrows, and by fireballs as well. All attacks hit the target, which was easily defeated by our protagonist, leaving his audience surprised since the monster didn't even have a chance to get close. The other centaurs in the area began to grow thoughtful, and our protagonist was ready to continue the show, this time using 2 spells at once. As he kept defeating the creatures, someone said that not even Asmo was that good in his time. The players watching didn't understand. They didn't know the protagonist was that powerful, because he defeated 90 creatures and didn't use a single potion to recover his mana. And even after all that work, he was still fully capable of fighting. Finally defeating the last monster in that region, the system said he could now summon the Centaur as his guardian, a plan he had already been thinking of. So he made sure to say goodbye to his audience, thanking them for watching. As he ended the stream, he thought that he didn't even show all his power to them. Now he asked his guardian to come closer. He was going to turn the Centaur into his new guardian. A golden glow completely enveloped the creature's body. It was now equipped with a spear, the typical and highly efficient weapon of the Centaurs. The guardian saluted his master with his new body, stating that he would repay him with loyalty. The wolf didn't like that change one bit, and our protagonist was pleased because now his guardian could do more things. He said he would eliminate all enemies his master needed, and indeed he wanted to test his skills. But they needed to return to the castle now, since he plans to move forward with the main scenario as quickly as possible. Our protagonist finally entered the castle, being warmly welcomed inside. That man's name is Zagara, and he said he is the lord of that castle. Our protagonist did not expect to meet someone so important there and said he was honored to meet him. Approaching, the man said that he must have already heard about the situation from Wigga, about soldiers being defeated by an unknown power. But he heard that our protagonist managed to survive, so he is asking him to find out what that is. Our protagonist is also curious to understand what power that is because he was almost killed by it. The man promised that if our protagonist did this, he would be very well rewarded. The new quest asks him to go to the restricted area. As a reward, he will receive a legendary card, and if he doesn't die, he will get additional benefits. Our protagonist saw that this other reward is really interesting. It's a master-level skill book, allowing him to level up his skill he already possesses. This way, he doesn't need to use the skill to improve it. It's a way to skip the grind. Our player hasn't died so far, and he doesn't intend to start that experience during this mission. In the real world, a plane is heading toward Miami Airport. A woman is sitting by the window. She doesn't like being called to this kind of face-to-face meeting. She started thinking that this must be part of a new strategy, until she received a message from our protagonist because he wanted to talk about the phone she had broken. She was very startled remembering that incident, but I'm impressed that she's using her phone inside the plane. Our protagonist said that he already repaired his phone and that no compensation was necessary. She started feeling bad about it and remembered that they live in the same neighborhood. She thought about sending him money, but also didn't know how much the repair had cost. One thing she is sure of, she can't keep avoiding people forever. She said that this made her feel guilty, and she would compensate him anyway. That mirrored building is the headquarters of the Abyss Guild. In a meeting room, several players are gathered. The woman noticed that all the important people were in that room. Merlin started speaking to all of them, introducing himself as the guild master. He thanked everyone for being there and said that the meeting was called to solve a big problem, showing them all the recordings of our protagonist. Some players had already been informed about our protagonist on another occasion, and a woman asked if they were really afraid of a single player. Emma is the manager and was going to handle the explanation. She knows that everyone there knows our protagonist. She said he is destroying the game's ecosystem and does a lot of things that have never happened before. She imagines the players have questions. She said that this player is getting into the game's own system. The company that created it no longer acts in moderation. That's why they have no choice but to take justice into their own hands, using the power of the Abyss Guild for that. From that point on, they would internally place a bounty on our protagonist's head, which left the girl shocked. One of those present said that high-level players couldn't find him because they are in different cities. The woman said that's a good point, so the guild would support players in creating an alternate account, which is extremely beneficial for its members, who are being encouraged to train. The girl realized that this is actually very good, but started feeling something uncomfortable, and the images of our protagonist continue being displayed there. Inside the game, he is heading toward his mission, coming across a large barrier. His guardian said he senses danger in that place, and our protagonist knows that the entire area was sealed, making it an excellent training ground because he won't be interrupted by other players. He and his companions entered that spatial rift. His vision was immediately restricted. He also wasn't able to hear very well on the other side. Defeating monsters under these conditions would be challenging. The difficulty of the main scenario is truly overwhelming. It would be almost impossible to complete it alone if it weren't for the skills he possesses. The Guardian said that enemies were approaching, and our protagonist said he would like to witness his Guardian's new abilities. They started attacking those creatures. The zombie centaurs were being completely annihilated, and our player kept giving commands to his companions. Lucky already found his target, and our player took the opportunity to cast spells. Meanwhile, the Guardian charged toward the enemy, saying that he does all this for his master. He managed to lock his spear onto the centaur enemy. The item he was carrying can absorb the target's health, and our protagonist used dragon eyes to lock his gaze onto the enemy, making it almost impossible for him to miss his attacks, sending several spells toward the creature. He finally gained another level. The amount of experience he gets there is very good given the difficulty, and other players cannot access this space. His thoughts were interrupted because one of the creatures was glowing. He realized that it was a specific quest. He told his companion that they couldn't attack it yet because he didn't want to leave that place yet. So the video ends here. If you don't want to miss the next part, activate the notification bell, and see you next time on Tob's channel.